All right, you can hear me now, right? Yo, Vinny.
You hear me, Brian? All right, now I lost you. Hey, what's going on, Vic? Felipe, what's going to happen is Brian and I are going to be chatting. We're going to be going back and forth, and we're going to take questions from our Meerkat listeners, watchers, and we're going to try and answer those as well as just kind of go back and forth and have a little battle. We're both rocking the buffer shirts. I'd show you Brian, but he's trying to set up his mic and stuff right now. So,
dude, my mic should be working fucking fine. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Buffer. He's got a buffer shirt on, just like me. Buffer.
All right. It says external mic, output, headphones, input. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Holy cow! You found. Holy cow!
And of course, now there's like feedback.
Freaking mouse in the joint. Hold on. Hold the phone. All right, so you can hear me though, right?
Yeah.
Freaking leave it to freaking to Google Hangouts to screw with it.
Of course, my man. Of course, that's usually how it happens.
All right.
Hey, on a side note, before we start, do you use Boom?
Boom? What the hell? No, because I don't even know what Boom is.
Boom is a you know who introduced it to me? Chris Barrows. It is it helps like boost the sound out of your MacBook.
Boom?
It is insane. It is ridiculous the sound that I've gotten now out of the MacBook. It sounds like a totally different.
Is it an app?
Yeah, it's like $15. It's pricey, but it's like the best thing I ever. Especially for me, like I listen to a lot of music out of it.
Hey Vincent, what's up, man?
Anything else? It's pretty cool.
Come on, boom.
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 Boom goes the dynamite.
I know. I feel like it's like a boom. All right, hold on. I think I'm gonna be pressing the precious Wi-Fi here at the hotel in Austin, but I think this discussion will be funnish. Welcome back to Austin. What's up, Jenny? Yes, I know. I had a blast in Austin when I was here for South by Southwest. That was my Meerkat explosion. All right, hold on. I'm trying to get boom.
Yeah, no problem, dude.
All right. Yeah, but I think we are live at least on Google Hangout.
Yeah, let's rock it. Let's yeah, whatever you're ready, man.
All right, hold on. I need to get the boom. I got other people giving me the boom on the. Wait. It says it's $6.99.
Oh shit! Really? It
says boom experience the best audio always.
Is it? I think I got Boom 2.
Yeah, so this one is Boom 2.
Oh, dude, and get it. Is it 50% off or something?
I don't know. Hold on, I'll buy it. Hold on.
Just yeah, get it. I paid $15 for it, or 11, I think. It was like 20% off. You must got a discount on it.
Well, I'm running Beta OS, so I don't know if Beta OS has anything to do with it. But what's up, Big Fat Mouth? That's an interesting name. Dude, I tell you what, I had a Meerkat earlier today. It was probably like one of my most successful ones, and it was about the selfie stick of Apple.
Oh my God, what do you think about that, man?
I know, it's crazy. They lost touch with the community, man. They got no idea what's going on.
I'm not a fan. I'm not liking what Apple. I mean, I'm still an Apple fanboy through and through, but I'm not a fan of what they're doing there, man.
I know. I put the challenge out to my buddy. Oh, you gotta be kidding me! I gotta validate my freaking. All right.
Just your last those 3 digits on the back, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on, Meerkat? Let's see who I got in the house tonight. Andrew. What's up, Andrew? Bree, how are you? Thank you. Amber. Vic. Michael. Lindsay, how are? Oh, Chef Lizette's in the house.
What's up, Chef Lizette? It's okay. I'm not offended that they're on your stream, not mine.
Artist is here.
I know. I see Anthony's got 2 screens up apparently because I see him, and Vicky is up in my stream. Mr. Brian Yarnish is up in my stream. Tell you what, I got like the best Meerkat support. I was joking about that before, and I got Periscope running live now too. on the iPad. Hold on.
We can talk Periscope. We'll talk about everything. Hey, what's up, Anthony? How are you? Cody, what's going on, buddy? Thank you for joining our Meerkat Jam session between Brian Fanzo and myself. Social fans on the Twitters. If you don't know Brian Fanzo, you don't know.
Why this thing went full screen on me? Hold on.
What's up, Hannaford?
All right, dude. So hold on. Let me get this. Is it funny that a lot of you? And I guess we can kind of jump into what we were going to discuss.
Definitely.
Man, what is going on? The screen is all kinds of whack. Hold on. Did I tell you what? My MacBook is screwing with me today.
Sometimes that happens. What's up, Amber? How are you?
What's the G+ address? You have your own social media reality show. What's up, Jessica? I didn't know that. No, it's definitely not. Well, it could be a reality show. Shoot, it could be the Millennial CEO reality show.
MCEO. It's like Real World. Real MCEO.
I know. I'm trying to get. It went full screen on me, and now it won't get out of the full screen. Here we go. There we go. Exit full screen mode.
Nice.
There we go. Now I'm back to I feel like I'm a normal person. Does Meerkat have replays? Yes, Callie. We will hit catch. Of course, I don't know if catch. Why do I keep licking my lips? Everyone asks me that. So I keep licking my lips because I'm on Adderall, and it's a side effect of Adderall. But yeah, that's funny because that is apparently evident. You know, I'm on Google Hangouts all day, every day, but yet the fact that on here for some reason, I guess I look like I'm licking my lips a lot more. There were some haters on the Periscope the other day giving me all kinds of crap about it, and they were laughing because I didn't care. But what about the old farts like me? Why just millennials? Well, that's part of the debate, and honestly, that's kind of what we were kind of striving for, is that it's not just millennials, but that really does drive the conversation because people get all kinds of bent out of shape. But it's the mindset right there, Mr. Vinny, the host of MCEO Talk, which is about millennial mindset.
That would be myself over here.
Over here.
MCEO Talk, who he's talking about at the moment.
Wow, and look at the buffer love that's going on right now. We got double buffer love.
Buffer logos. I gotta get Fanzo. I want to get a buffer freaking hoodie.
Oh, that would be nice. Buffer hoodie would be nice. So I don't think buffers have millennials start what year? It's 1980 to 2000-ish.
Brian makes the cut.
I say I'm born in 81. What year were you born, Vincenzo?
85.
85. So I have a little brother that's 83, and I have a little brother that is 86. So you're in the space. And I believe millennial mindset has no age requirements, because the mindset element and what we kind of talk about is that one variable being the year you were born is a bunch of crap for being a grouping of a bunch of people. I believe it's a whole crap load of variables, which probably we'll get into the discussion here. So it doesn't matter if you're 1970 or you're 19. For me, I talk about Terry. You know, I would say the best grandma community manager that's out there, and Terry thinks like a millennial as much as anybody I know.
Love Terry.
You know Terry, right, Vinny?
Yeah, we got 1983 in the house. We got 1984 in the house over here.
I know. It's like a
nice.
81 is
nice.
Definitely yeah, 81. That's why I'm 81. So, Callie, you're 92. I didn't realize that. Callie and I met at social media marketing world last year. 57. I didn't. Tell you what, big fat mouth. Vicky, I definitely. I would have never guessed it. And you rock on Team No Kid Hungry for sure.
Are you streaming yourself, Brian? By the way.
What?
Are you showing yourself, or are you showing me?
I'm showing the screen, so when it flips back and forth, it's the two of us.
Gotcha. All right, cool.
Is that what you're doing?
No, I will, though. I just didn't have a, what's it called? I don't have a stand. Sorry, I figured it out.
Oh, look what I got. Yeah, so I can show off my stand. I got the mirror pod going on.
Fanzo has the mirror pod. Oh, I got 1959 in the house, 87, 1990.
Oh, yeah. I got, hold on, we got 62, 1950 fucking 7 is what it says on here.
Nice.
Nikki, 1983. No, definitely not Gen X. Gen X starts at 1980 and below. I'm 22, firmly a millennial, that's for sure. And we were actually talking about that the other day. The difference between, I would say, the millennials that are in their 30s and the millennials that are not in their 30s is definitely an interesting dynamic. Actually, Chelsea Cross and I have that conversation a lot because Chelsea and I are on the opposite sides of the pendulum of the millennial age bracket, but millennial mindset's a different thing.
She's what, 1992, isn't she?
No, because she's 90, I think.
90, all right. I thought she was 92.
Yeah, I was going back and forth with her earlier. We're working on a project together, so I was on there with her earlier. But So I say, Vinny, I'm gonna kick off this little question back and forth. So you jumped on Meerkat. Was the Vin Cat or the Karaoke Cat the first start, or what? How did that grow? How did your whole I'd say your following base and Meerkats start?
Jeez, you know what, man? I'd have to say, I think the first Meerkat I did was, I think I was just testing it out and walking around. I think I was walking my dog was my first Meerkat. But the first time I actually used it to the point where I was interacting with people was my epic 7-hour freaking karaoke session.
So what inspired the karaoke set? Because I think I was on that one, right? I think I was on there at some point. I remember you like putting on music and then so on. So what? Because for people that don't know that, for people that follow me that haven't watched Vinny, I talk about the epic community involvement and really, I would say, viralness of Vinny karaoke, which might have something to do with his stunning good looks as the fellow Italian. But yeah, so how did that all come about? And so you said it was 6 hours?
Bro, I think it was like 7 hours. All right, like I will really tell you how it happened. I actually got blown off for a date that night. So I was like, all right, well, I'm not going out. I might as well do something. I'm like, let me screw around with this freaking Meerkat app because, like everybody was using it and I had used it a couple times, but not to any extent. And I sat there, I started rocking out with it. Next thing you know, I'm sipping on some Fireball and just kept going, man. It was a good time. It was, I just turned on the music and I started singing, and people were loving it. They were interacting. I had Mark Andreessen in there.
I remember seeing Mark Andreessen. Curly Sapphire says she was in there as well. I remember seeing Mark Andreessen jump in there, which I thought was pretty cool.
It was ridiculous. He's like, I know this song, and then he left. But still, he commented on it, So I had Mike Baltus, who's commenting on my stream here. He was in there, and just you know what it was. Honestly, he was feeding off of, and this is going to get into our conversation, I think, because and people are like, oh, what would keep you going that long? Why would you ever on earth do it for that long? Well, I had interaction with an audience, and then the audience just kept me going. It was a legit conversation. It was legitimately, requesting songs and singing along, quote unquote. Like they were typing lyrics, so I knew they were singing along. And next thing you know, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, all right, I'm exhausted. My vocal cords hurt. So.
It's funny. I got people showing up on my feed talking about they were the ones requesting songs for you when you were doing your Meerkatty-okie. No, so you know what else is interesting in that conversation is I don't think you could do a video blog talking to the end of the world by doing that. What's up, Thomas? Man, I like that you have TC as your Thomas from Twitter jumping in here, one of my buddies over on the data team. I don't think you could do a video blog when you have no interaction without because I talk about that all the time. There's a difference between live streaming and live streaming with engagement, and that's really what both Periscope and Meerkat are focused on. And Ustream, there's plenty of live streaming apps and live streaming stuff that's been around for a long time. The fact it's mobile to mobile, it's integrated into Twitter, and it's really is that engagement aspect. Without the comments, to me, this would have very little value without question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about the commenting. I love getting people to just jump into conversation, and the more, I mean, I feed off of the audience. Like a comedian, if you have a crappy audience, I mean, I've been to some comedy shows where if the audience is miserable, the comedian's got nothing to feed off of, and most of the time they just have to like get off the stage. So I feel like with the audience engagement, you're in there, you're feeding off of what they're asking you. I mean, there's a troll here and there, and I think with any app growth or with any community growth, you're going to get that kind of trolling. But for the most part, I have pretty clean streams, I would say, and I haven't had bad experiences with people jumping in and kind of complaining or just making stupid comments. For the most part, it's been pretty clean, and people are actively engaged. Because who's going to sit there? I mean, realistically, this is what I see with video. That you and I are both in Twitter chats. Brian, for my Meerkatters that don't know, Brian is the one who really introduced me into Twitter chats and got me into really building my community. And we can talk about community building in a little bit, but Brian was the one who helped me really build relationships on Twitter. And I would say with video, the one advantage you have with video as opposed to a Twitter chat or anything else is that you have to be physically sitting there watching it. Like a troll is not going to want to sit there and watch it on their phone for 7 hours, on their iPad for 7 hours, and just to sit there and throw in some stupid comments. So I think that it's really different than
No, yeah,
Twitter.
I'm hearing some comments coming in, like idea of, Ustream had comments integrated. I mean, the ability to be one press button, the fact it's mobile to mobile. I talked about it at South by Southwest. I mean, the fact I ran it on LTE data for that entire event. I mean, I didn't hit Wi-Fi once, and when I did hit Wi-Fi, the connection was bad. That where I changed that up. But for me, the live streaming game changer was truly the engagement element of it. I mean, a little bit of the fear of missing out aspect because they did a great job of launching it before South by Southwest. But also it was that ability to just do it by mobile. I mean, I was literally walking down the street, and that one morning I was like, I'm going to do a preview of my day. And I had 280 people watching me do a preview of my day at South by. And I was like, well, screw it. I'm going to do it every day. And I did 7 straight days, and every day there was more people. And I think that's part of it. I'm seeing comments on my side. And, like part of it, not only is it the engagement, but it's really that the ability to kind of just click it on. I mean, it's that reality TV voyeur world element that we live in right now, is that we want to be able to do it in real time and keep it raw, and that's really what it is. I mean, shoot, you're sitting at your house right now. I'm in Austin. I'm going to give a presentation tomorrow, so I'm at my hotel at Westin Austin here. And it's all about, how you keep it authentic. And that's, yeah, and I mean, it's so funny. I mean, Michelle just jumped in here. I would love to figure out the amount of people that found me first on Meerkat. I would say it's a couple hundred. And to me, that's kind of crazy because I connected. Now, Vinny, when you connected, were you hooked up to the social graph, or was it before the social graph?
I had the privilege of being on the social graph, which a lot of new people that are new to Meerkat don't have access to. So I think that was a huge advantage to early adopters. You know what they say about early adopters. As an early adopter, you take the risks, but you also reap the rewards. And I think myself, you, and many others that did do that. I had that reward of now I'm like, I don't know, 13,000 or so followers on Meerkat, when I have, I think, a little over 3,000 on Twitter. So I look at that and I'm just like, wow, there's that many people interested in video. And granted, I was at the top of the leaderboard for a while, so a lot of people thought that I was like the person to follow for a minute, which is great. I mean, again, it's just testament to being on there and being an early adopter. But yeah, being on that social graph was money, man. It was just like the greatest thing ever. And
no, for sure. It was, I was the same way. I mean, but that's interesting. I mean, look at the different dynamic there. So you have what you said, you have 3,000 Twitter followers. You have 13,000 on.
Something like that. I have to check the exact number. It was around 12 or 13,000. Yeah, last time I checked.
So that's one. That's interesting because I talk about I was embracing Periscope. I was openly admitting early on Meerkat days that the day Periscope came out, I would jump ship. And so I have that's why I think I have 13,000 people on Meerkat, but I have 30,000 followers on Twitter, and I have followers I have on Periscope is around 1,500. which is interesting because both of them, I'm tied into the social graph for both Periscope and Meerkat. So I wonder what that dynamic is, because like how can you transition? I think because of Meerkat integration with Twitter today, I think that kind of gives you an advantage. But I mean, you should be able to leverage and kind of connect that community that a lot of those followers should be following you on Twitter as well. Have you seen that happen recently?
I would, I have noticed that a lot more people are now following me on Twitter for sure. Like the engagement has gone, and this is what I have to say about Meerkat, and to answer your question, yes, they have definitely followed me there. I'm seeing a lot more engagement on Twitter, just for the simple fact that now people are like, well, hey, I'm watching this guy. I have a group of people that watch me every time I stream. Well, now they're like, well, what's this guy doing elsewhere? And they follow me. So yes, I definitely have seen that for sure. But I think also the fact that I've been, the one thing I heard a lot of was, wow, you're so engaging. Like you actually engage the people that come into your streams. I had somebody reach out to me actually today, and she told me that she will watch me no matter what I post because she knows that I never make anyone feel stupid when they ask a question. And to me, that's just normal. That's just the way I am in general. But the fact that on video, like that comes across to people, I think it's amazing because you sometimes can't get that to come across in, over Twitter or through through text. We always have we're always text messaging and email and tweeting and DMing and Facebooking, and people they can't hear your tone. They can't see your facial expressions, so we've lost that. And I know, your biggest saying is kind of hope or turning connections into handshakes and hopefully hugs, or making the hug come faster. And, really, I think it's like now people can see that. They can see it. They can see the way I talk. You can hear the inflections in voices. You can see the facial expressions. You see the sincerity, how genuine people are. I mean, that's huge. It goes a long way, especially when you're a marketer, but especially if you're preaching authenticity, like many times you and I do. We always talk about authenticity. There's nothing more authentic than this. So.
Well, and I think that's part of the reason why it's hard for some. I mean, when it comes down to it, I was talking about the politics, how the political campaigns are going to jump all over this. But really, the only ones that are going to jump on it are the ones that are fucking not fake. Because here's the deal. I mean, to be able to answer questions, engage actively, and really, truly kind of continue that conversation. I mean, you were on there for 7 hours. I mean, if you're at a point where, yes, some people can fake it. Yes, there's some scripting. But the key element for me is, is how you can, how you make a difference, how you answer the questions. And I mean, you can't fake that stuff. And some people are jumping in, the conversation here, like, convince people to move from Periscope to Meerkat. For me, it's all about where you're comfortable, where your community is at. People are talking about like on top of the Navy ship at Social Media Marketing World. When I was there with Carlos and those guys, and we were on the ship, like the amount of people that were asking us questions, and I walked down, got Guy Kawasaki on the Meerkat, and all of that happens because it was all engagement in like real time. Like people felt like they were right along with us, and I think that's not only someone said less guarded, but I mean when it comes down to it, if you can't think on your feet, if you're not real, if you don't truly care, and Vinny, that's why you and I kind of connected originally was. There's just this aspect of being real, and Meerkat definitely exposed. Meerkat and Periscope, the whole idea exposes the truth, because you can get on a hangout and you can fake it for an hour, and then you can go back and be your authentic self. But the person that they want to engage with and turn this on every freaking day is that and Anthony just put it in there. He said the ultimate transparency. So I'm more engaging than anyone I know now to get people to watch me. I think that's actually a good point. So what do you think about that? So Vicky actually was asking, you can be really engaging on Twitter, but then there's also an element of, why are people going to watch? What is the video element? Because I integrated video into Twitter chats because I wanted to highlight the guests and really give them a chance to be spotlight instead of just being stuck in another 140 characters. But what do you think are the traits of people that really, if they're good at engaging on social, what does that also mean when they engage on video as well?
Wow. Okay. If they're engaging on social, if they're engaging on like a Twitter or any, whatever social platforms you're using, for me, it's all about translating that into video. So a lot of times what I think happens is, and this happens with other video platforms like a YouTube or Vines where you can edit and you don't have to be authentic. It's so much different to actually be authentic on live video. Anything I say is out there and done. I can't take back anything I say on here. So the moment I slip up and say something, I don't want to say incorrect, but maybe any faux pas, they're out there. With live video, with recorded video, you can continually kind of, you can edit, you can, let me take again. I don't look good today. I'll do it tomorrow. And then I'll just publish it. So if you're engaging on Twitter, you also need to figure out a way to translate that over into live video. And I think the best way to do it on live video is to pick something, that you are interested in. For me, I built it around my karaoke. Now that's not necessarily my only interest, as you well know. I have a lot of other interests, and obviously there's more to me. There's more depth than just singing, but singing was something that I never really would broach on social media. It's not something that, hey, that's interesting you have that in your hand, Fanzo, because
wow, you can tell we're both used to dead battery life when it comes to
totally rocking the Mofies.
Mofi should sponsor our meerkatting sessions.
Mofi. No, but it's like that was something that was able to kind of break the ice for me personally. And again, I can only speak to myself personally, but there's a lot of others that are out there that are trying to do things that, you're trying to force that kind of scripted piece of it. Pick something you're interested in, break the ice, and then sprinkle in little by little. You sprinkle in some of the depth. So lately I've been doing like a morning drive where I'll talk about. Really, I'll take questions. I'll sing a song once in a while as well, just because it keeps people interested. But that's kind of like my, that was my icebreaker. And I the thing I've been telling a lot of others is that if you don't do something that you are comfortable doing, that authenticity won't come out, which is, I think, where live streaming video really will, kind of show off your skill, or not necessarily your skill, but that's what it helps show off. It really accentuates whatever you're really good at. So if you're really, really good at, like Brian, you're awesome at you walk around and you're just, talking to people left and right, interviewing others at different conferences. I mean, you're blessed to be able to go to these different conferences. So you're giving us a different view that's, most people can't have, but you don't act any different than when I've talked to you on Hangouts or on the phone, through text, through Slack, through any other means of conversation. So people are asking why the buffer shirts. I have a few questions here.
Why the buffer shirts? Because we wanted them. I have a meerkat shirt, but my meerkat shirt I wore yesterday, and I left it at home in Arizona. So that's one of the reasons. Yeah, I'm getting interesting questions as well. But Vinny, here's my opinion. Like, I didn't tune in to. I knew you before you started doing the meerkat karaoke.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't tune in to watch you or listen to you sing, because honestly, I don't need to listen to you sing. But I love that you were willing to be yourself, which I think is something that not a lot of people are willing to do. And so that's part of it for me. It's like, hey, not only were you willing to expose just being raw and kind of I'd say playing to the audience, but that to me also showed your kind of a confidence without having to say, look at me. And I think that's something that's a strong suit that not too many people have. And to your point on what I was doing, I've had a crazy year. And what I like to think of, and I talked about it before, is brands that are asking me how they can kind of embrace this technology, embrace this, is think like a fan. And honestly, when I'm at these events as an influencer, I'm still kind of out of my mind in the sense that I don't think of myself as an influencer, as someone that I think of myself as someone that's lucky, that's had the ability to have this exposure, have these brands pay for me just to go to an event to share my insights. So why would I not want to relate that with my audience and share that? Because to me, if someone would have done that a year ago for me as a fan that was not out at South by Southwest or not at Social Media Marketing World, I would have loved it. So for me all the time, it's funny because people will say, why are you jumping on Meerkat? Why are you doing Meerkat there? And I said, well, last year, if someone was here and I wanted to have them do something, that's what I would want them to do. And I kind of interpret it like that. So I think there's an element of, and I think it's funny because we have some people, Adam is jumping in here, who does, there's lots of, I also think it's pretty interesting. The Meerkat community itself is very, we kind of help each other. Even those that are on the leaderboard, I know, the retweets and things that happen to drop across is very community based. And I know Niv is in here from Meerkat. I mean, Meerkat was in my session earlier today, engaging in the dialogue in the chat. And I think that's an aspect that you can't really fake either, is that a brand or the app actually cares enough about the community to support us, engage with us. I mean, you were you shared a Yahoo post where you were called out on that. I was laughing whenever people were messaging me from the San Diego area because I was on the San Diego news of one of my Meerkats of them talking about use cases. But I mean, so what other questions you got on your side?
Let's see. Actually somebody asked a really cool question that no one's asked before, and I don't know if it fits, but it was talking about the economic inequalities and how that comes into play with live stream in general. I'm not sure if that question fits. I'm trying to find it again because it was.
Here's a good one. With your thousands of followers and subscribers, for us with under 1,000 followers, what's the Meerkat success game plan? And that's from Callie Summers. I love that question. I have an insight on that. It's funny because what has worked for me is actually a little bit of both. I'm curious, what do you think about that? If you don't have the luxury of being on the leaderboard yet, and you don't have the social graph, with both of us, we're very fortunate to have. What's the path to Meerkat success?
I'm gonna say Meerkat, but I'm gonna also talk live stream in general because let's be real here. We don't know if it's Meerkat. We don't know if it's Periscope. We don't know if it's Ustream. We don't know if there's something down the road. And wow, I'm gonna have to. I know we keep preaching kind of that same thing, that authenticity, but I think it's a combination of being authentic, being consistent, and changing it up, every once in a while. So keeping the audience engaged somehow. I've had to kind of stop doing the karaoke, not as often as I was. It drew people in at the beginning. But then once I lost the social graph, now I was getting people that wanted to watch me, not just because it popped across their screen. Like now they have to actually want to watch me. So if they're getting the same content constantly that has really no value, like I found that since the social graph went away, now that this app has become more of a self-sustaining, community, people actually want real content. And I'm just going to transition that question into a question that I got, which somebody asked, what was the difference between Meerkat and Periscope? And I'm not going to go into all the detail of it, but what I'm trying to say is that with Meerkat, I'm finding that community is there. People really are jumping on streams. They're staying on. They're watching. They're asking questions. They're helping each other out, like you said. People are actually talking to other users on here. Like right now, I have a conversation going on between a few users. I'm not even talking to them. They're having their own conversation in my stream. But with Periscope, I feel that there's a little bit more of that, hey, let me jump on for 5 minutes, stream, my car ride, or let me stream my, motorcycle ride, and I'll be done. I don't find as much engagement on it, but again, I know others have had different successes with it. Personally, I'm finding the success with Meerkat in terms of, having these conversations and sustainable conversations, because most of the times the people will actually allow them to go to Twitter. They allow their tweets to go right onto Twitter. So I can go back and engage after this is over. Anyone that I missed, I can go back and kind of answer their question if I missed it. I can go back and talk to them and open up, another way to communicate. It doesn't die here.
No, exactly. And I think for me, that's an interesting, debate or conversation when, I think if you are providing value. I mean, here's the thing: if you jump on and you're kind of that fear of missing out, reality TV, peek into you eating a piece of pizza. Yes, people will watch that, but they're not going to tune in every single time because we all get 24 hours in a day. We all value our time. So I try really hard. I don't have a strategy other than the fact that I have something that I want to say, and my goal is to engage and provide value. So back to Kelly's question, I like the idea of scheduling a post and then taking that link and putting it on your other social networks. Absolutely. I also built out a landing page on my website. So if you go to isocialfans.com/Meerkat, you can see all of my links, pictures of my Meerkats, and then I have all 12 Meerkat videos that I saved for Catch. So for me, it's all about continuing that conversation and community. And I think you hit a big piece. I take every person that comments on my Meerkat and I add them to a Twitter list, and then I engage with them almost in a highlighted area where when I'm not on Meerkat, I also want to engage them because I want to create a relationship from a standpoint of one-to-one, not just whenever I'm on blast on Meerkat. So those people that don't have a huge stream, I think when you focus on building that like kind of cult following, because you really don't need, I mean, I don't know how many people you have on yours right now. I think I have 26 on mine right now. And for me, you know, if there's 6 people that are engaged asking questions, I'm just as happy as when there's 126, right? I think the idea really is if you can add value, make a difference, and kind of create that community around the content you're providing, you're gonna win. And I think the problem was too many people got on there and I was like, whoa, oh look at that, I just knocked over everything I got. Which is kind of funny. I think the people I was just gonna talk crap about, I think they subliminally just knocked down my Periscope and my Meerkat. But you know, like I was laughing because there were some people on there that would get 100, 200 people, and all they would be doing is dancing in their living room. And my question kept being like, who's going to tune into this every single day for hours of their life if you're not providing value?
Well, that's a good point. So Anthony Bernardus just asked a question. He said, do you find Meerkat will be full of porn celebs? And it's funny what you just said, because there are certain people that are at the top of the leaderboard, and I'm not going to call them out specifically, but I've tuned into the streams just to see what they're all about. And
I tuned in just to see.
Right. I tune in just for the articles, really. But no, really, you know, and I'm watching the stream. I mean, I was on for like 3 minutes, and literally it's a girl in her underwear dancing around. I'm going to do the laundry, and people are watching and engaging. So yeah, is that going to happen, Anthony, and to everybody? That's the nature of anything. I mean, you know, was the internet originally intended for porn and for, you know, other things? No, I'm sure that wasn't the original intent, but you know, porn and other industries find a way. It's an outlet for industries.
You'll hear me say oftentimes the reason the internet is free is because of the porn industry. Yeah. Because, you know, like when it comes down to it, I think that's, you know, and I also think it validates the element of, you know, I think there is a piece of how do you monetize what we're doing, and how do you actually, like, you know, tie this to quote unquote ROI, which, you know, whatever on that conversation. But I also think there's an element of, you know, hey, if that's your claim to fame, if that's your goal, go for it, embrace it. I mean, I think it's, you're not, you know, someone was joking the other day, I was jumped on here and Ashton Kutcher jumped on, and like, oh man, you picked a bad time to be on here. And I just laughed. I go, I promise you, my audience is not looking for the same value from whenever they're tuning in for me and when they're tuning in to Ashton Kutcher. And so I don't think of that. I mean, I think there's plenty of space on the internet. There's plenty of space on these apps for anybody who wants to embrace it. But I also think if you want to create sustainable community, you have to embrace who you are and what value you're going to provide. I think too many of these people, when you look at it, they're not worried about building a community around providing value. They're worried about that quick hitters, right? And you know what the cool part about one-hit wonders are? Eventually nobody remembers their name. Absolutely. And for me, I don't want to be a one-hit wonder. I want to be that guy that continues to add value every single day. And I think that's kind of even my point on your karaoke, Vin, is that gave people a reason to kind of, I would say, fall in love with your demeanor and what your style was. And then when you were dropping knowledge, when you're going in there and giving people insight into your life, that's when they kind of build up the additional relationship. But there is an element where if you don't attract attention to begin with, you are never going to get noticed. And I talk about that a lot in Twitter and social media, because you do have to attract attention, and there's a crap load of noise right now. And if you don't have that attention to begin with, it's hard to build something from it. Yeah,
and you know, you made a good point with the quick hitters and the one-hit wonders. There's too many people, and listen, there's too many brands, there's too many, and this will go into that millennial mindset now that we've talked about at the outset. Mike Baltus said, "What's the ROI of your mother, Gary V?"
I say, "What's the ROI of buying a round of drinks at the bar when you're a sales guy?" But we don't have to get into that.
Hey, we don't have to get to that one, but you know, I guess I'll bring it up in terms of millennial mindset or whatnot. You know, for me, it's not about necessarily the number of followers. It's not about the number of people. Like, okay, there's been 213 people in my stream, 24 of which are here right now. Great. I don't care. Like you said earlier, if there was 6 people in here and they're engaged, that's all that matters. It's 6 people that I'm talking to. You know, I think sometimes we forget, like you said, actually perfect. You said a salesperson at a bar buying a round of drinks. Well, you're gonna buy a round of drinks. If you take out if you're gonna take out a potential client, you may be with what, 3 or 4 other individuals, you know, maybe 5. Then that's rare to have that many people in a sales meeting, like on a casual sales meeting. I'm with 25 people right now. Like, when am I going to be in front of 25 engaged individuals? And at some point, 217 were in here. Like, when am I going to get that opportunity? It's very rare on a day-to-day basis. Again, I'm not talking about being at a conference or being a speaker or a keynote somewhere. I'm talking about day-to-day activity. I don't have access to that many people that are going to listen to what I say, or at least pretend to listen to what I say, but have a conversation with me.
No, I mean, that's a point right there. I mean, I talk about this a lot, and I feel like it's soapbox, but I mean, for this audience, I mean, here's the deal. When someone buys a round of drinks, do I remember their name? No, I say thank you and raise a glass. Yep. But when someone adds value, input, provides insight, makes my days easier. I mean, and I know people are actually dropping in here like, you know, I drink the J Bear Kool-Aid, and I do. You know, when it comes to utility, for me, you know what? If I provide you value, I help you solve a problem, you'll remember who I am. You'll want to do business. Business with me. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. I mean, to be honest, a lot of the clients and customers I'm signing right now are people that I probably added value to their life 3 years ago. You know, and it's just closing a business deal today. But you know, you know, my mentor, my friend Ted Rubin, always talked about that not only is there no easy button in relationships, there sure as hell is no shortcut. It's a long-term game. And I think when you're focusing on adding value, when you're doing what kind of, I mean, that's what we're doing here. I mean, to be honest, you and I are shooting the shit, which we would probably have been doing in some other form to begin with, over in Slack or whatever we would have done it in. But we decided to broadcast this because I think this is the whole idea of we is greater than me. Why not share what we're learning with the world? Because I think if more people are creating better meerkats, better freaking sessions, all it does is add to our value. It doesn't take away from what we're doing. I think people sometimes freaking look at, and like, I mean, the whole gamification element, someone was like, man, I can't believe Madonna's #1 right now. And I was like, I think Madonna drew more eyeballs to Meerkat, and now maybe some of those people are finding me. And if only one person finds Meerkat and then finds me because of Madonna was valuable to me. You know, like, so I think we have to kind of look at that, because I mean, if I looked at my dad, you know, and I hate to do the generation thing, but if my dad could say that he could help change or make someone's life, one person's life better once a month, he'd sign up to do that. And I think we have that ability, and often we forget about these, we think of these stupid vanity metrics in the huge aspect that I have to have 100,000 followers to make an impact. Nope. You make the impact on one person, they create a ripple. All those ripples create a wave of change. I know that sounds very preachy, but
but you're right. You know, you're right, and it's, you know, sometimes we focus on, you know, and I lost my train of thought on what I wanted to say before. But a lot of times people, like you said, they focus on, well, if I'm not talking to 100,000 people, then what's the point? You know, what am I doing? But you're right. I mean, if you can change one per. You know, it's the old adage of being a salesperson. You knock on 100 doors to get one sale. You know, so what is, you know, if I can get one sale by talking, and I say sale, but a conversion or a fan talking to 24 people, I'll take that rate any day over having or needing to talk to 100 or 200 or 1,000 before I get someone to follow me. Because, you know, I know how hard it was to build my Twitter following. All right, it took me years. Now, granted, I changed my approach thanks to you, but, you know, it took me years to get to where, you know, and again, I have 3,100 followers, whatever I have, but still I feel very, very engaged to my audience. I know that there's people that I talk to daily. I have conversations daily with people that I remember their names. I know their names. Like you said, you get a round of drinks at a bar, you don't even know who you're talking to. I mean, I have people that jump on my meerkats and I know them on their bubble. I know their name just because I see them constantly. And, you know, I was going to go into that generational thing with the mindset, the millennial mindset, but I lost my train of thought. So if you figure
so this is an interesting one, you know, where Mike Baltus was talking about, it's called leverage, Brian. And then Callie asked about, like, you know, replacing Twitter chats. And I think let's kind of get in this conversation. I don't think I've had this rant on my meerkat yet. So this will be kind of a new to the audience. But the reason that I found huge value in Twitter chats, and the reason that every single person who is part of my community, part of my team, has all of a sudden embraced this is it's a freaking noisy world. We're all busy. But you know who I want to hang out with? I want to hang out with people that share a common passion, a common to make a difference. And you know what's pretty cool about a Twitter chat is that it's all voluntarily. You know, no one gets on there because they're freaking forced to get on there. Everybody's getting on there to share value. Nobody, I mean, if you get on there just to drop links or just pollute the feed, you won't be there very long. It's just not sustainable. But I mean, the amount of friendships and people that I found, not only that aligned with me, but I wasn't alone. You know, I wasn't alone that I wanted to drive change, and I didn't believe that the word personal brand was a bad thing, or the fact that because I was so proud to wear the badge of a millennial that I could not believe that so many people were getting, I would say, the myths or the bad the fact that people were like, I'm afraid to admit I'm a millennial because it kind of gives people a bad taste in their mouth. That motivated me to even wear that badge even stronger and to even try to drive more change with it. And that wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't find people that were shared and were actively engaged like I was. And I think that's kind of what, I mean, I told you about this, but I have a blog post coming out that hopefully, fingers crossed, will be I'm trying to get published on Forbes. Forbes hasn't accepted me as an author yet. But if they do, my first post is really, that's definitely like a plug to anybody who might know anybody over at Forbes. But I
think we do.
For me, it's I built my Meerkat community 2 years ago. And what I meant by that is I firmly believe that I grew a community that was built on engagement and shared value. I learned something every freaking day that I get on social media. If I didn't, I wouldn't be on there. And that goes to the answer of why people, can try to find value on here is because, I want to not only learn from others, but I want people that are willing to work together. And this whole collaboration method, and I sometimes sound very, I openly admit sometimes that I sound like I'm too optimistic, but because I've seen it work and I'm proof that it does work. I'm all about, inspiring and teaching change. I think that's kind of what you're doing. And I'm seeing the same thing in my feed as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen, the conversation here is very similar. A lot of, let's see, innovation will always be exploited for good and bad. Early adopters like rawness of authentic community. I'm trying to just go back and look through a couple of these.
Here's one, Barry Bruce, but Twitter wants to cut third-party apps from its ecosystem. Brian, your thoughts on this? I believe we are in a API generation, which means if your apps don't play nice with other apps, they're going to be obsolete. And Twitter is not excluded from that. I think that's partially a bad rumor that they're going to they would cut third-party apps. I mean, I use Tweetbot on my phone, and I love using that as an app. There's Buffer and Hootsuite that really have transformed the way Twitter is. Twitter's problem, hear it from me right now. Twitter's problem is the learning curve for new users to transition from a newbie to a power user is way too freaking steep. The Twitter UI sucks. You put a hashtag in the search, and all of a sudden you just stare at it and you're like, what the hell does that mean? I don't even know if it's real, if it's live, it's real time. Are people tweeting about that? Where do I find, people get on Twitter, they follow 8 people, which usually are 7 celebrities and their mom or their friend. And then they tweet and they just sit there and stare at the screen waiting for someone to tweet back, right? And that's the problem. I think it comes down to training and killing that learning curve, because so many people are lurkers. I can't remember what that percentage was they put out around the Super Bowl, but there's such a high percentage of lurkers because that learning curve to get to the stage where you and I find amazing engagement and we're using Buffer and Hootsuite and TweetDeck and all these other tools and we're building Twitter lists and I'm using that data because I went to a dinner tonight and I had 25 people I had never met who were paying me to come out here to speak at an event. And you know what I knew about every single one of those people is I knew what they care about, what their previous business was on LinkedIn, and what their last tweet was. And I did that research because I wanted to have something valuable and I didn't want to stick my foot in my mouth and all of a sudden talk about one company when 3 of the people at that thing were fired from that company. And for me, that is true power of social data. But the learning curve for someone to go from what I would say a new user is, or someone that has less than 200 followers, to a power user, which I think is someone that has 2,000 followers, is so freaking steep right now. Twitter doesn't have to worry about shutting down other APIs. They need to fix that damn learning curve.
Well, somebody, all right, so just to pigtail off that, I think that the fact that Twitter integrates or does have the third-party access, and with, like you said, it's an API. We're in the API world right now. I think that's what makes Twitter so great, is that it's so integrated with all these other apps. It makes my experience with Twitter, and you know what? At the end of the day, I'm talking about Twitter. I'm not necessarily talking about Buffer. I'm not necessarily talking about Hootsuite or Tweetbot. I'm still saying, yeah, I'm on Twitter. Yeah, I'm on Twitter. Yeah, I'm on Twitter. But it's that integration, that seamless integration that I get with Twitter that allows me to, or makes me want to keep using it. So somebody asked to Brian, to you, both Twitter and Snapchat have cut access for third-party apps recently, though? Question mark. I'm not sure, quite sure.
Well, I heard about Snapchat. The Snapchat one's interesting because I think the idea. I've had some amazing stories about Snapchat. I need to blog about them a little bit more because I need to get that voice out there. But Snapchat is acquired attention, right? I talk about that all the time. You have to have your finger on the freaking screen so that you actually view something. The Twitter.
Isn't that where Meerkat? Isn't that kind of how Meerkat is too? Because you can't leave the stream. If you leave the stream, you're gone. I actually had a conversation with Ryan Cooley over at Meerkat, and he said to me, they have no plans on allowing you to leave the stream and still hear the audio because they want you to actually be watching. I mean, that's fantastic.
I agree that if they made that possible, it would be like Twitter getting rid of the fire hose. Because to me, the backbone of Meerkat is that you have to be actively engaged. It's the app that's running on your phone. It's the attention that you're getting. If just like Twitter and the fire hose, I don't need another Facebook that's giving me a dynamic news feed. I want the fire hose. Educate people on how to better manage the fire hose. Make Twitter lists not so crazy hard to create. Stop worrying about trying to make the fire hose worse, because I think that's the game changer. And you're right. I mean, I like, the other thing about Meerkat that's really nice is that you can kind of bounce in and out of feeds without ever feeling like bad about it, because to me, it's partially like kind of like that game, but the real engagement is when you're watching and adding a comment, or you're watching and the next day someone tells me, I did an hour and a half of me walking through my 14 favorite Twitter tools engagement. I walked through every tool. You know how many tweets I got the next day telling me that their mind was blown, they signed up for Managed Flitter or Buffer, and they never even knew those tools existed? Yeah. That to me was like, wow, like that's a win. Like that's where I'm doing the happy dance, because I'm now helping people make their lives better. And the ROI is maybe one day down the road, whenever they all of a sudden got VC backing on their startup, they go, hey, Brian, I want to sponsor your podcast because you helped me out a long time ago. And that's when I do, that's when the true ROI comes out. So, I think those are the things I think we have to talk about here. So here's one, right? People are saying great points on the learning curve. Vincenzo, where have you been on at Meerkat? What I love about this app is that your passion on a tweet would never come through. That's actually an interesting conversation. What do you think about that, Vinny?
Your passion on a tweet would never come through. You know what? Yeah. It's not going to come through on people that are lurkers. Lurkers will never, ever see the passion of a Brian Fanzo. They'll just think that you're some guy who is a blowhard. No offense, Brian, but that's what it'll come through like that. They'll look at stuff that I post. They'll be like, this guy's full of himself. Or this guy, what does he think? He's trying to be funny, or is he a wise ass? It just, you don't get it. I found, and I'll be I'll be brutally honest with everyone. Since my karaoke cats, now my tweets make more sense to a lot of other people. They're like, oh wow, this kid's talking because he really enjoys music, so that's why he's talking in lyrics a lot. Or he'll kind of relate things to music and he'll break the ice. I use music as an icebreaker many, many times, and now people have gotten it. They get it, so to speak. But yeah, absolutely. You can never passion or emotion does not come through in text. And I've had this conversation. Actually, I think I don't know if Bree is still watching, but like her and I were having this conversation yesterday about tone coming out in a text message, or in a Slack message, whatever we were talking in, whatever channel we were talking in. And it was like, you're constantly trying to, I don't want to say defend yourself, but explain yourself. It's almost like you're talking 3 times the amount, to get your point across. And you know, with that,
my soapbox on it is, if Twitter is your only touch point with somebody or with me,
right.
Not only do I pollute your feed, but I tweet too much. I tweet, but for me, it's all about storytelling, and it's one aspect of the storytelling. And that's why I love Twitter video. I've gone on that rant on Meerkat way too many times. I love Twitter video. I use that thing so many times during the day because, a simple thank you or a simple I appreciate your retweet is pretty cool. But if I get on video for 15 seconds and say, hey, man, I appreciate you going above and beyond, keep rocking on, or whatever I say, that personalization is the game changer. It makes me stand out. So, I mean, you're right. The passion can't be portrayed in one tweet or just a couple of tweets. But you know what? It's about building that story. And I think that's why we connect Google Hangouts. That's why I love Meerkat, because you know what? The best compliment I got in social media marketing world was I was presenting with Ted Rubin on stage, and I came off stage, and I had a couple people come up to me and said, Brian, here's something. They're like, this is something that blows our mind. You're the exact person that you are tweeting as you are in person. And I told him there's no better compliment to me, because I don't have to. Social became easy for me when I embraced who I was and I just tweeted me. I didn't worry about what other people were thinking or what I wanted to tweet so that I could build a personal brand. So I think that's what Meerkat does. That's what, the karaoke element for you is. It gave you a different way to tell your story and almost kind of compelled them to learn more. And isn't that our ultimate goal, even with sales? We want to build a relationship so that they keep asking questions. So eventually you don't even have to make the sell. They want to buy from whatever the hell you're selling just because they already have the relationship.
And for those that love the pure follower factor, because let's face it, there's still those people out there that are like, well, how many followers do I get out of it? Fine. You want a true story here? From the moment I jumped on Meerkat, I've increased in followers, and I'm gonna credit this to Meerkat because I think that's why. Now, obviously, I've backed it up with what I've tweeted and Google Plus and Facebook and LinkedIn and everything else. But I'm pretty sure I increased about 1,200 followers. And I'm not one of those people that follows everybody. I'm not team follow back by any stretch. I have, verified accounts, people that follow me that I don't follow back because I personally don't find value in what they tweet. But yeah, the number's like 12 or 1,300.
All right, so I got a question for you. I haven't asked you this before, and I ask almost everybody when it comes to Twitter. What was your Twitter aha moment?
I actually wrote a blog post about this on how I turned my kind of Twitter game around. It stems back from I'll give you the long and short of it. It stems back from an ex that I dated who hated social media. So I was kind of hiding who I really was on Twitter and other social media, because let's face it, and somebody brought it up in my Meerkat feed here. This is the problem with dating, and I was kind of hiding who I was, trying to be very politically correct all the time, and not engaging with certain people because it looked bad, quote unquote. My aha moment was really late last year. It was right around the holidays. And I said to myself, I'm not getting any value out of this. I'm spending so much time on Twitter. I'm spending so much time on social media, and I was getting nothing out of it. And what I mean by getting nothing out of it was that I was connected to family and friends, people that I'm already connected to in real life. I'm an outgoing person, so I'm already talking to these people anyway. So social media was just extending conversations with people I was already talking to. I can't remember if it was one of Jeff Bullis's blogs, or it might have been something you said in the Twitter chat. But it was kind of like a wake up moment. Like, if you're not connecting with people, or if you're not using this to connect with people, then you're just wasting your time. And I don't remember who said it exactly, and that wasn't the exact word. And it just, it's something spoke to me and said, you need to really use this the right way. And that's, I reached out to different people, like Chris Barros and I have been going back and forth for, I would say a good 8 months or so. But really in the past 5 months, him and I have had a really good dialogue going back and forth, between you and I, you and Vin Orlick, guys like that, where just the authenticity of what you're preaching, and I'm telling you guys this on my Meerkat feed here too, is everything Brian says, it's not just he's not trying to be a quotable. It's not like, oh, let me just have people quoting me left and right. I mean, he actually practices what he preaches. And Brian took the time to talk to me and say, hey, this is how you do it, and give me little tips here and there. I mean, granted, we never had this long of a conversation before, when I was first starting, because, you don't know. I mean, I'm sure you get tons of people that reach out to you, hey, how can I do this? And you don't know if they're dedicated to it, but like, it was about dedication. And that was the biggest thing, for me, was like, there was a lot more steps involved. And I was preaching this stuff to clients. I was preaching it, Brian. I mean, I was out there talking about it, but I wasn't doing it myself. And I wasn't seeing the true value of it. And once I did, it was like, it literally, a light bulb went off. And ever since then, I mean, I started the year with under 1,000 followers. So and I'm over like 3,100 now. But again, it's not about just me following tons of people. I only follow like 1,200, 1,300 people. I'm creating actual conversations and dialogue. And that's why I love Meerkat. That's why I love the live streaming video. That's why I love Twitter chats. You actually have conversations with people, and they're bringing value. Like you said, it's because they want to be there. So I can't pinpoint the exact moment, but again, it was kind of a culmination of events and a culmination of just, articles that had come out and people saying different things, starting to hang out in the right Twitter chats. And I was like, wow, you know what? If these people can do it, I know I can. I have the passion and dedication, but I was kind of hiding it for a while. And finally, once I broke out of that, it was like the floodgates had just opened. So I would recommend it to anybody. I know some people had asked me here, like, how do I use Twitter and how do I use Meerkat? Some people are asking me on my feed, but that's how you use it. You do it. You don't hide from yourself. You don't hide from others. You get out there and have conversations. In fact, social media is great because for those of us that are introverted, and I'm not, I'm the furthest thing from an introvert, but for those of us that are introverted, or for those of you that are introverted, social media is a great place to start and to get you to break out of that shell, because you know what, you don't have to necessarily put yourself in an awkward situation. You can talk to so many people, and I've actually talked to quite a few. I don't know about your experience, Brian, but I've talked to quite a few people that have said to me, I'm a super introvert, but they're killing it on social media. They're killing it on Twitter. They're killing it on
one of the biggest ones I know is Brian Kramer. You would never guess it. No, and I think the interesting part about it is I'd be curious to hear from the introverts on the video aspect, because this is a little bit different. But like for me, and you said a lot of awesome nuggets there that I think were you kind of glossed over them, or you were saying as part of your story of your aha moment. But really, what you were talking about there is you were getting as much, if not more, than what you were putting into it. And then you kind of started to kind of connect the dots. And the reason I laugh, because I'm friends with, of course, Ted Rubin and Brian Kramer, and they have a hashtag, right? And for the longest time, I had no hashtag. My Twitter handle, everybody was trying to convince me to switch my Twitter handle to Brian Fanzo, just my first name, last name, which I do recommend all of the new users to do, because it's a lot harder to be found and build a brand around what you have. But one of the things for me is, like you said, I had so many people coming to me and said, Brian, how are you getting on these awards? How are you getting on this list? Where the hell? I mean, the most common question I get for podcasts, and it happens today, is where the hell did you come from? That's the most common question I get. And the reason the whole Show You Care came is people are like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I just find new ways to show I care. Like if everybody hits retweet, I hit quote retweet and say, this is a must read. Or if everybody shares a blog post on Twitter, I take the blog post that was really good and I put it on LinkedIn. And it was nothing that was like, I mean, literally, this is not mind-blowing stuff. But what I was doing was I was like, I listened and I learned from the people that I thought were doing great. Gary Vaynerchuk, Jay Bears, Ted Rubin. And what I did was I figured out what they were doing great, and then I said, how can I be unique? And I think something you said that was really interesting, and I said this on stage earlier this year, and I didn't realize that it was going to go viral like it did, but there's an element of, if you suck offline, you are going to suck online. And the fact that you were really good offline, eventually you can learn how to kind of embrace that. And I think that's kind of the thing that we kind of forget is, some people, they want me to help them. I work with them, but really they don't care about other people. They're selfish. They don't really get the whole value of like conversation requires listening, not just freaking talking and claiming that you're hearing somebody. You actually have to freaking listen. Like that's the difference between, I'd say a blast and all these things that, and I say it all the time. I say that social isn't a communication channel. It's a conversation channel. And I think of that as two different things, because a billboard is a way to have a communication, right? You have a freaking billboard and it's spewing your message. But nobody loves a billboard. Nobody builds a relationship with a billboard. Nobody goes back to the billboard and tries to freaking buy something from that billboard. And I think that's the difference when we're talking about social, that it is the game changer. That if you are, like you said, you were already outspoken, you already had an opinion, you were already preaching what to do. Well, the aha moment was like, well, wait a second, I got the same value for me. I'm going to capitalize on that. And you know what, Vinny? I mean, you're hosting that Twitter chat, and I wasn't saying it to blow up your smoke, but I think I was actually surprised. You blew me away how well you did at being a host on that Twitter chat, because it's not easy. You kind of have to be able to, I'd say I hired a team of 32 people, and the skills that I hired for, one skill set, roll with the punches. And I said that every freaking interview. I built my questions around, I don't care how smart you think you are, how smart you used to be. I can train you on a lot of technology crap. But if you're not able to roll with the punches, be nimble, embrace change, not beat yourself up because all of a sudden technology didn't work and you went on to your very first chat 12 minutes late. And that's legit, right, Vinny? I mean, like that's exactly what happened. And you know what? Shit happens. Life is not freaking easy, and it is messy a lot of the times. But if you're able to roll with the punches and be real and kind of embrace that, dude, it's how you're really good at social. And that's why I gave you a shout out the first and second episode, and I meant it with all my heart, because there's a lot of people that can't handle that and can't kind of roll with it because they're not authentic. And hopefully that's kind of what this meerkat gives people too, because I mean, I call it to everybody. Every politician that wants to run for office this whole election, if you're not on Meerkat or you're not on Periscope, it's because you're fake. And you know what? I'm tired of fake freaking politicians being the ones that are in the office. So, I mean, that's my call out is, hey, be real. Get on here. Answer questions from the freaking people you're trying to represent. And if you can't handle that, get out of the streams. I think that's the difference. And hopefully the millennial mindset, those of us that are millennials, and I have a blog post that is super ranty that I wrote today that I haven't decided if I'm going to post yet. But my theme of that is we have to stop supporting, stop promoting, and stop being okay with people that aren't authentic. And what that means is if people that are real and people that are making a difference, promote the shit out of them and stop promoting the people that suck. And I'm taking a stand for that.
Here's the thing. It goes back to grade school. Who gets all the attention? The kids that are acting up, those that are, being loudmouths, those that aren't paying attention, and the ones that are actually trying and doing and working hard tend to fade into the background. And that's what happens even on social media. That's what happens in life, where sometimes if you're plugging away and you're not the squeaky wheels, you don't get the grease. But what I've learned is that on social media, you can change that. You can switch it up. You can be the squeaky wheel without being too annoying. You can constantly post. You can constantly do things, especially on Twitter, when Twitter's fantastic. I have something, and I don't have as many tweets as you have because this is my third Twitter account. But I have 27,000 tweets on this Twitter account, which is only from 2012, and I've really been killing it over the past 8 months. That's a lot of talking. That's a lot. I mean, imagine someone doing that on Facebook. That'd be crazy. But on Twitter, that's a lot. So there's an opportunity for people to really get their word out there. And so why fill up people's timelines with crap? I look at every follower as they're taking the time, and I'm not talking about the bots and the spam. I'm talking about real people. So when Brian Fanzo followed me, I said to myself, wow, or Brian Kramer, Ted Rubin followed me. I'm like, what? You know what? I can't be filling my timeline with crap. And it's not because of them. It's not to not be authentic, but I can't just be putting out crap constantly and retweeting, links, because you guys are seeing them from everywhere else. I have to be having an opinion, and I noticed that as I had more of my own opinion, I formulated them on Twitter into 140 characters. I started getting a lot more engagement, and I started getting engagement from people that I viewed as influential to me, mentors and whatnot. So I think that's a big difference too. People are always asking, well, how do I get my mentors to, look at me on Twitter? How do I get them to respond to me on Twitter? How do I get them to have conversations with me? And it's like, well, be yourself. Stop retweeting everybody else's links, and stop retweeting, news articles. Stop being a headline. Have a conversation.
Wait, no one gets on social media to say, I want to follow an RSS feed. That's what the hell RSS feeds are for. And, and it's something you said there. It was funny because I call it respecting your feed or respecting your followers. I mean, I have other Twitter accounts, and I often get on there and follow my own account. And all I want to do is look and see, man, these poor people are stuck looking at my freaking face across their entire thing. I better be providing value with each one of these tweets, because I hear it all the time. It's like, Brian, you tweet a lot. And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I don't recommend it for everybody. But I focus on, as long as every tweet helps or provides value or is at least insightful as my story, then people are going to deal with it. And if they don't, it's their loss much more than mine. And I think that's kind of the wrong point. And I think you had a good – I remember Vala Afsfar was my aha moment. Is I read his book, and I actually read his book a second time, and I went into I Xeroxed a copy of his book. And thanks, Vinny. Hey, you like this, Vincenzo? Ryan Cooley was on Meerkat, so I pulled it up on my iPad, and I saw that our boy Vincent Orlek, a friend of ours, was in there watching it, and so I put in the comments, "What's up? You're not watching me and Vincat?"
He was in mine for a hot second.
So that's kind of funny. I'm stalking Ryan Cooley's Meerkat, stealing people back into ours. But
get Ryan in here.
Yeah, no, he's in Maryland walking around the streets because he was in there talking to politicians in D.C. today. But
got it.
No, but but one of the things that was I was kind of getting to on that, your news feed and that aha moment is I printed out a piece of a page of one of the books of Vala Afsfar, and I brought in the CEO. And before I went in there, I took a picture of it and tweeted out, and I tagged Vala in it and said, "I'm about to go get myself some budget." And I came out of it and got budget. Went and pulled up my phone, and he replied back and was like, "Good luck. It inspires me that my book actually is helping you in the real world." Started a conversation, started a dialogue. It must have been about 6 months later, he followed me. And I remember walking back into the other room, and I will admit, I didn't walk. I ran into the other room, looked at my wife, and said, "Holy shit, Twitter is a game changer." I'm following now a thought leader and an author that changed my perception. But it also gave me this kind of clearer look on, if Vala is only following 400 people, I better not pollute and spew crap. And there's a difference between transparency and oversharing, and too many freaking people get the two of them blurred together. And I think that's kind of what I blur it. Trust me, I'm the one that if you follow me, I probably balance on that line more so than a majority of people. But I think that's kind of the game changer for me, was like, man, if this kind of dialogue can happen, who can I not follow? And like you said, I've had multiple conversations with Mark Andreessen, Mark Cuban. The amount of people that, and let's not even talk about them. My business partner I found on Twitter. My 11 of my 13 clients I found on Twitter. My co-host of my Twitter, the Twitter chat, Social Business Hour, that is, probably one of the most successful chats when it comes to total value. We've still never met in person, and we've been on a Twitter chat every Monday for over a year. That's truly the power of Twitter. And when you look at it that way, it's a game changer. I give a shout out to Callie Summers. She's been dropping some knowledge. She had to jump out of here. So,
so two things. I got to make two comments. One is about, you were talking about billboards before and how you can't build a relationship with a billboard. And, my thing is this. What is social media? If you take the social out of it, it's media. Well, we already have magazines, we already have books, we already have TV, we already have billboards, we already have radio. So social media, for a while, I remember there was like this whole, concept of, well, why are we calling it social media? Let's just call it new media. And I'm like, no, it's social media. It is social, because that's the key aspect of social media, is engaging, is having conversations with people. On Facebook, I've actually started to use Facebook a little differently. I was in a Twitter chat earlier today, JVM chat with Jay Vig and Chris Barrows, which, by the way, is a fantastic chat twice a month. Quick plug to those guys. But a question came up and said, how do you use each platform, and how do you, are they personal or professional? And now it's like the line between personal and professional has been so blurred. I've even been using Facebook a lot differently. And, taking a page out of your book, Vanzo, where you can have professional conversations and still be personal on Facebook. A lot of people are like, well, I have to have a separate page. And I know I'm kind of going on a rant, but my point there was basically that social media is called that because it is that. It's social. It's not, right now I have the TV on, I have SportsCenter on because I want to see, highlights of games or whatever. And I can listen to the radio and listen to a talk show, but I don't have any engagement with them. The broadcasters, Keith Olbermann and whoever the heck is on, I don't know, Olbermann's not even on SportsCenter anymore, but Dan Patrick. These guys aren't talking to me. They're just talking to a TV screen. They don't care if anyone's engaging or worried about conversation. So I think we need to remember that why social media is called social media, because it's made for us to have conversations. And then somebody made a comment, and it's kind of funny because you and I are talking about this, about polluting people's timelines. So my buddy Michael here says, so are you guys saying that all of these random posts, the Meerkat posts to everyone on Twitter, is blowing up our followers with useless information?
And the answer is no, because get this, the reason Meerkat was genius when Meerkat rolled it out is the direct replies. And this is, if you look at Gary Vaynerchuk's SlideShare, he has a SlideShare that says the one thing nobody understands about Twitter is if you have an @ at the beginning of a tweet, the only people that see that are the common followers between the two of you. Therefore, all of this dialogue is built underneath the conversation of your original post. Yep. So for me, I actually go back to my original post. Every Meerkat that I do, I go back to the original post and I scan through the every single comment. And if someone commented, I follow them. That's kind of how I build it out. And for me, I think that's part of what this discussion is. And Vinny, you have to give a shout out. I guess Ryan jumped off of his feed, or he has two devices because Ryan just jumped into the Meerkat feed here.
What's up, Ryan?
Mr. Cooley, nice to see you jump in. We're jamming out to a little bit millennial Meerkat discussion. Me and Vinny. Vinny is at his house. I am in Austin. But I mean, I think that's kind of what this discussion that we're also talking about is. You have to understand Twitter. I mean, I've had a lot of people that told me that Meerkat actually got them back into Twitter, which I was like, wow, really? Like, how did that work? But it kind of makes sense because now it's like, well, if I love this person or I like following them on video, what are they sharing on Twitter that I might like 24/7, not just whenever they're on live video? And I think that's kind of a game changer that people kind of underestimate on Meerkat. And I mean, I actually have somebody that I have a contract offer out to, and it'll be my first use case for my first Meerkat use case, is that they connected with me first when I was in Barcelona for Mobile World Congress on March 2nd, the first day that I downloaded Meerkat, and I'm about to sign them as a client, and they would have not known who I was if it wasn't for Meerkat. That to me is a game changer because, I mean, I have 30,000 followers. I assumed that almost everybody that would find me on Meerkat would have known me from Twitter first. And that hasn't been the case. It's actually been mind-blowingly awesome how many people have found me first on Meerkat, or maybe found a new reason to like me on Twitter because of Meerkat. I think that's, I mean, you talked about your follower growth, but I think that's also something is creating a fan is one thing. Turning them into an advocate, your ambassador, or your supporter is a whole nother thing. And that takes a lot of work. And I mean, I have some great ones. And I have a couple people that are in this feed right now. I mean, I give a shout out to Marketing Hits, Brian Yarnish. I mean, he's one of those guys that is a must follow on Scoop It. He provides value all the time, but he supports the crap out of everything I do. And I wouldn't have the success I've had in my career and on social and as an influencer today if it wasn't for awesome people that are supporting me, and Vincenzo, yourself as well. And Vincent Orlick, I know he was in our session earlier, but for me, the reason I'm successful is because my community really does support me. And I hope that's because I was providing value to begin with, but I think it's a mutual effort. I learn from everybody every day. I learn from you we've been going back and forth on Slack about how to promote Twitter chats and how to get new people on as guests. And you know what? You're giving me new insights and new tricks, and I've been trying to get guests on for a year and a half, and I'm learning from you each day. I think that's the aspect that if you get on social and you think you're too good to learn from everybody, you're wrong. I mean, look at Gary Vee. Gary Vee, I feel is, yes, he doesn't engage with every person, and everybody tells me that if he tried to engage with 1 million people, he'd need 2 other lives just to engage with all the people that tweet at him every day. But the fact that he's always hustling, always providing value. I mean, he's one of my favorite people to follow on Snapchat because he just does random crap. He's human. He's a normal freaking dude, and I think that's kind of exciting.
So this is just the power of Twitter because we're kind of on that track. So Michael said to me, random Twitter story. So we'll just jump in because we're kind of wrapping out here. No big deal. He said he partied in the VIP with drinks at the nightclub in Miami by tweeting the owner and talking to him. I mean, that's cool. I mean, listen, that's not exactly what we're talking about here, but it's just it's to show the power of Twitter. Like, you don't know. Now, that could have been a business deal, you know, that could have been anything, but you don't know where you can utilize or leverage the power of a simple tweet. You know, just say hello. Like you said, show you care. I mean, that owner clearly responded and got some new fans, and now they're going to talk about the nightclub or whatever it might be. But there's so many different opportunities. And, you know, it's funny because I remember that. I remember when you were in Barcelona, Brian. You were flying home and you were stuck in the airport, and I think you were in London, right? No, you were.
Yes, I was in London at like 4 a.m.
We were talking about freaking Meerkat. And you're like, what the hell is Meerkat? You're like, what is this crap? And then now here we are, like 4 weeks later, 5 weeks later, whatever it is, and it's the.
I mean, who would have thought? Remember, I had the camera up. I'm in the airport. I was hungover. I had the camera up. We're on Google Hangout. I have the camera up. I'm like, I'm streaming this, and there's some old dude looking over my shoulder, and you're like, I wonder if that guy realizes you're live streaming it. I'm like, yeah, I wonder if he does. Like, you know, and that was what, March 6th, whatever the hell date that was. That's a good throwback.
Yeah, I mean, wow, look at that. We're just, there's a ton of, someone wants to know if you have any plans to go to Italy, Brian.
Give me a reason to. I'm down for Italy. I'm an Italian as well, my last name being Fanzo. But I've been to 29 countries, and Italy is not one of them. So I would definitely be down. Find me a speaking engagement. You know what? It doesn't even have to be a paid one. They pay for my flight and my hotel. I'll be there. I've kind of sworn off doing non-paid speaking engagements because everything's been kind of crazy recently. But I would make an exception for Italy, that's for sure.
I'll double the offer on that one. If you get Brian to go out, I'll come out with Brian and do it in Italian. How about that?
Hey, my mother-in-law speaks fluent Italian as well.
There you go.
Oh, Suzanne's taking on a hater, and you know what's sad, Suzanne? So I had somebody jumping in here spewing some crap on my feed, and the sad part is, like, they've already disabled their just preach my sons. I don't even know. Anyhow, it's funny because Periscope is full of just pure, you know, trolls, which is kind of.
Nope. You still got audio, Brian?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, all right. I thought I lost you. Yeah, Vin Orlick said there was like 6 of us on that hangout because he was on there that night too.
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah, that was funny as crap. I remember I was so burnt out, and that day was forever. It took me like 26 hours to fly home from Barcelona that day, but it was cool hanging out. I'm hanging out on Google Hangout and Meerkat in the airport at 4 o'clock in the morning, waiting for my flight to board. You know, and that's truly the power of social because all 6 of us were on that Google Hangout. We all met via Twitter, right? I mean, none of us knew anybody. You know, Vincent and I are a little bit different.
Yeah, only 2 that knew each other.
Yeah, we worked together at we worked together at I/O, which I realized when I took my iPad out of my case that I had a sticker because I've had my iPad in my case forever, and I took it out of there and I realized I got a sticker on the back of it. But
which iPad is that?
The Mini.
Oh, all right. I was like, almost in one hand.
Look at that. I mean, that's the Mini and the iPad, the iPhone 6 Plus. And the funny part is, I can thank Meerkat for actually giving me another reason to actually use this thing again. Because when I got the 6 Plus, I almost completely stopped using it. But the fact that I need another device to Periscope at the same time, my iPad has now become useful again. Because it's cracked like shit. I probably couldn't even sell it for $100, but
it's useful streams for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Vin, we did. So Vin asked if we talked about Madonna yet. Yeah, Vin, we did talk about Madonna. We mentioned her, the importance. And Brian, it was funny because Brian said, you know, how that's great. Madonna went to the top of the leaderboard, but if that brought one more person into Brian's feed, it brings value to Brian, and it brings value to the rest of us that are using Meerkat, because if it's drawing attention, it doesn't matter where it's coming from. If they're checking out the leaderboard or scrolling down, or they're just checking out Meerkat in general, it's helping everybody. It's helping the community, and that's what I think is very important. Not that I think, I know is very important, is that we need to focus on the community. You know, whether it's Meerkat, whether it's Twitter, whether it's in real life. Let's face it. If you don't focus on your community, you're missing out on the bigger picture that will ultimately be beneficial to you. But I know if anyone checks out my LinkedIn, there's a few articles on there from about 2 years ago. If you don't know me, I founded a collaborative workspace in my town, which is kind of down the street from my house. And, the whole point of it was to build a community around what was already going on in town, which was a great downtown center area, but we didn't have that like business, like a business center or anything like that. And really, I'm in an old school town where no one's really got progressive thinking. So my goal was to change that and to bring people together and work together. And it's been working. My focuses have gone elsewhere lately, but I'm still involved there. And, my big push is community. So like Brian said, if Madonna helps the rest of us, then please bring on more Madonnas and bring on more celebrities that want to use it.
Hey, here's one you'll like this. So I got a couple good comments, but Josh said good night and thanks. But another one, String Story said learning more every day about being social and what it takes from Brian and Vincenzo. Which those are the kind of ones that keep me motivated every morning. And then Jeff Goldberg, who also is a Meerkatter himself, said he's seeing more spam on Meerkat as of recently. And he actually pulled the old conspiracy theory and wondered if Twitter's actually creating those accounts to spam people, which is funny because I took the spammer, and while you were talking, Vinny, I actually reported them via Twitter, the one that was spamming my feed. So I reported them on Meerkat. So you wanna get on there. We can't complain about people that are trolls and people that are harassing and bullying if we're not willing to do something about it. So that's kind of my role, and that is I'll play that game if someone wants to screw with it. I will block it and make it change.
So somebody asked me what happened to being the top 5, and honestly, Alex has been one of my viewers. He comes into like all my streams, so I'll answer him. But and I know Vin Orlick did in a little satirical way there. But really, it's not about being on the top of that leaderboard, because the moment celebrities come to the top, or people that are going to stream for 24 hours at a time, like, you can't keep up with that. And if you're just trying to become another, how do I stay on for 24 hours just so I can stay at the top of the leaderboard? Like, you're not creating good content at that point. You're not creating quality content. So for me, my approach is I'm going to create quality content for those that want to actually watch me, not because I'm, again, like with my karaoke, my 7-hour karaoke, I don't want to keep doing that just to keep people watching me, because then I'm not adding value to them and it's not bringing me value. So let's see. Oh, and Haley, by the way, said she was trying to get Vala on Meerkat. She was trying to do a little bit of a Meerkat earlier. Were you on that tweet?
No, I retweeted her tweet because I saw that she was trying to get Vala on there, so I retweeted it.
Yeah.
Then I saw she posted and said he had a cancel or something.
Yeah. But she thanked us for her support, or for our support of that. I like Steve Isaacs. Steve Isaacs is a cool dude, and he's got some cool stuff, and he's funny. He's a former MTV guy, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. One, quality over quantity. I believe in that a lot, and that's someone that tweets faster and tweets a crap load. I talk about it a lot, but I actually monitor this number, but I tweet between 1,000 and 1,200 times a week, every 7 days, and only 19 of those are actually scheduled posts through Buffer. So I don't believe that's for everybody, but there's also it's not only not forcing content, but you have to listen. Someone asked me the other day, was like, Brian, why all of a sudden on your Meerkats do you get into the Meerkat versus Periscope discussion? Do you know how many tweets I get about that a day? Literally, it's like the most. And granted, I am on Periscope as well, because I'm kind of one of the ones that I want to test both of them. I have a relationship with Twitter. full disclosure on that side. So I have kind of a reason to understand their app, what they're trying to do. But part of me is like, I get on there because people want me to answer that question. I'm going to answer that. I mean, I think that's also something people forget is if you just listen to the pain points of your community and you try to help solve their problem. I mean, if people are having a bad day and they go, God, I wish someone would cheer me up. Vinny going on there and singing music. Hey, if you make one person's day better, or they're laughing out loud, or I know Cody, our boy Cody Stevenson, him and his girl were driving across the country, and I was laughing. I was having a random day. I had a guy, just a dick on one of my clients, or I guess former client now, and I got on there and they were rapping, they were singing together, driving, finishing their road trip, and I thought to myself, I'm like, wow, for about 15 minutes, I kind of forgot what was going on, and I sent him a message. I was like, dude, I appreciate that because it allowed me to kind of get outside of my zone. And it doesn't matter how many followers someone has; it doesn't really matter. But if they're providing content that's valuable to somebody, I think that's a game changer.
Yeah, that's so. It's like we keep bringing the conversation almost full circle, but you need to just worry about what's in front of you. Now I've been bouncing up and down here. There was 27, there was like 33 a little while ago, but I don't care about, oh my God, I don't have 8,000 people watching me right now. It doesn't matter the people that are talking in here right now, like Alex and Michael and Haley and Vin Orlick, all these guys. I mean, guys and gals. Jen Leo. I mean, these are people that watch me. I would say every time I stream, I love when people are like, when are you going to go on again? I haven't seen you in a couple days. And it's like, oh, I was in Chicago for a few days, so I didn't get a chance to like meerkat every day or something. And that to me means I'm doing something right.
Correct. I talk about that a lot. When you disappear and nobody cares, that's when you're doing something wrong.
Absolutely.
And actually, Brian Yarnish actually brought up a good point too. He actually said, if your follower count starts going down, that's a good sign that you're not tweeting good stuff. Because I talk about that actually as well, is that, and I work with brands, so I'll talk about this from a brand perspective. I actually have brands that told me, Brian, what's the worst thing I could do on a tweet? They just don't read it or click the link. And I go, no, they unfollow or block you because you just lost a potential advocate, a potential fan, a potential retweet because you spam them, you spewed crap. So don't think that your only loss could be the fact that nobody clicked on a link. I mean, it's funny because I have like a little bit of a vengeance for people that spam or target me on Twitter with ads that make no sense. Is I retweet, favorite, and click the link because it charges them each time, and then I block them, right? So I'm gonna teach them real quick. I'm gonna click the link, click the retweet. But I think that's part of it. Is if you're not adding value, I'm gonna unfollow. You're now we can really get rid of the bullies and get rid of those that spam because the unfollow button is freaking powerful. They're no longer noise in our view.
Absolutely. That unfollow button, people kind of. I don't know. People they laugh at it. Oh, you're gonna unfollow me. Well, it's kind of a big deal. I mean, it takes. Some people think that it takes no effort to click unfollow, and it does. It's a conscious effort. There's a conscious stream of thought there. That when I hit unfollow on someone, it's very rare that I'll even go back. The biggest thing we joke about sometimes in our in some of our Twitter chats is the auto DMs. Like one of the worst things you could do is just have these auto DMs that add no value to anybody. And I personally will instantly unfollow someone, especially if someone comes across and they say that they're a guru or they're a ninja, they're a maven or a whatever, Iceman, Maverick, whatever they are in social media, and then they auto DM me. And it's like, well, you're adding no value to me. You didn't even like thank me for the follow, but you want to sell me your book through an auto DM. They get unfollowed. I don't know how individuals find that that's like the shotgun approach or the throw shit up against the wall and see what sticks. I mean, sure, if you have 800,000 followers, something's gonna stick. But what value do you see there? I don't. To me, I would rather have some value in people that want to listen to me every day than maybe a few that buy my book through a freaking auto DM. So, Meerkat, all these other things they're all the same. Like, if you're not building an audience around quality, then you're just, numbers will fluctuate. The numbers will fluctuate and that crap content will fade. That novelty will fade away. It's like beauty, beauty fades. They say beauty fades, but what's on the inside that counts. Talking about relationships or friendships or anything like that. And it's the same thing with, if I was doing freaking karaoke every day, people are eventually gonna be like, all right, this is old. You can only sing so many songs. I'm done with you. Unfollow. But now here we are having legit conversations. And I mean, people are coming out of the woodwork here, and they're, we're getting a lot of praise. I just want you to know, Bri. Like, people are, someone that just said, oh, let's see, Tiffany, Tiffany Diamond, Tiffy for you.
Of course.
She said, I learned so much from you and iSocial fans. Engagement is key. I mean, to me, that one comment, obviously there's a ton of others that made similar comments, but like, those types of comments make me feel good about what I'm doing and make me know that, hey, I'm here. I'm doing something for a reason. It's not just a bunch of crap that I'm spewing out to people.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. Don just said anybody who calls themselves an expert is probably not. And then, it's interesting because, I love that. Tiffany is funny. I was watching her Meerkat the other day, and she was doing auditions, and she had like a Meerkat live doing auditions. And it gave me a view into her life that I never had before. And Tiffany and I have been following each other for a while on Twitter. And I was actually thinking about that because people that are willing to kind of give you another peek into their life, and not everyone will sit here for an hours on end and do it, but even 10 minutes of them having a dialogue or sharing insight. Our buddy Steven, jumped on and did it. And he was like, hey, I don't even know what I'm saying or doing here. I'm just gonna listen to music and answer some questions. But it was funny because I've followed Steven forever. It feels like we've been friends for so long. But just like kind of having that dialogue and watching him behind the camera, it almost kind of re-upped some of the friendship element. I think people kind of, and it doesn't even have to be, I talk about storytelling. Find the storytelling that's best for you. If it's not live streaming, maybe it's podcasting because you don't like video. Or maybe if you're a freaking good designer, put a slide share together and put it out on Twitter. Or if you're really good at making infographics, put it on Pinterest and share it on Twitter as well. I think people get caught up in the 140 characters and feel like you're limited. I think the 140 characters requires creativity, and it requires a little bit of effort. But you can storytell in so many freaking ways. I mean, SoundCloud is embedded in your feed. I mean, you can use live streaming. I mean, there's so many ways that someone can storytell beyond just a simple tweet.
Yeah, I mean, the possibilities are endless. I mean, Twitter is just kind of brings everything together. But like you said, there's just so many different options. I mean, YouTube, SoundCloud, Pinterest, whatever, Instagram, whatever you want to use, whatever floats your boat. I would just, I know there's some people in here that are, they asked these questions earlier, but I recommend just whatever works for you to go with. For me, live stream works. I love being in front of crowds. I love doing things live. I know Brian has no problem with that either, so it works for us. But no one's sitting here saying if you're not doing live stream, you're falling behind the 8 ball. But it's good for you to know what it's all about. There's a lot of pundits, so to speak, and there's one that I'm not going to call out specifically because I really don't know his shtick, but he was calling out Meerkat. Is Meerkat dead? And Meerkat's already dead because they don't have as many downloads. I mean, it's like, comparing a movie. It's like comparing The Godfather with, Fast Furious 7 on its first weekend and saying, well, it made more money than Godfather ever did. And it's like, it's nowhere near the same cinematic, comparison. And I love Fast and Furious 7, but, that's what comparing Meerkat and Periscope was.
Well, I told you, I called out 2 people via Twitter and unfollowed them because they wrote two analysts wrote articles, and if you guys go back and look at my tweets, you can figure out who it is. But 2 people wrote articles about Meerkat being dead, and I sniped their Twitter feed, and they never individually did one Meerkat. So and I'm done with that. I am done with people that are full of crap that are not freaking speaking the truth. You know what? I'm not gonna bury you. I'm not gonna go out and be the hater. But you know what? You're unfollowed. You're out of my newsfeed. You won't get my audience because you burned me once like that. Why would you even? How dare you not even think someone would do that? I know I'm kind of a geek when it comes to that stuff, but for someone to kind of want to be considered a thought leader, at least do the validation of at least scheduling a Meerkat so that it's in a public field, and that kind of stuff I think is. And I think you brought up a good point that I don't think I've said is that not everybody. I talk about employee advocacy, and every person in the company is part of the story, but not everybody has to be the storyteller or the social employee.
Right.
Some of them are the reason the story happened. Some of them are the content makers. Some of them are the content creators. Some of those are content enablers. And I think of that as well. I think there's so much value being added to people that are just commenting in these feeds and creating dialogue. You don't have to be on the camera to be the one that's adding value always on medium like this.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned so much from people that are just in my feed. Like Mike Baltus doesn't do a lot of streams, but Mike Baltus adds so much value to my streams when I'm in here and other people's streams that I've seen him on. And I know that him and Cody met up on Cody's road trip. And like, how cool is that? I mean, Mike Baltus, Jen Leo, Toronto Pizzeria, Frank's Pizza.
Yeah, I mean, Suzanne with String Story. I think she's funny. I started jumping. Actually, another one is Melanie Canada. I love getting in. I follow people that are tweeting about personal branding, and I love listening to people's interpretations of it. But I love it more when I see them embrace new ways of telling that story. I mean, I jumped in and was listening the other 2 nights ago to her giving personal branding advice, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a very cool and unique way to do that. And I think too many people feel that, I had someone comment to me and say, like, Brian, I need to find something different to talk about because you give out social media advice, and that's something I would do on Meerkat. And I laughed. I was like, A, social media is a big space. B, I am definitely not a social media thought leader. I am a social media power user and someone that shares how I use it. But I talk about this all the time, but I learned Facebook ads from a podcast from John Loomer. I mean, I'm learning that for me, it's not about what everyone else is doing. But it's, hey, what are you doing? Share your insights.
What's that?
I said it's all about sharing your insights, sharing your unique view, right?
Well, I have a bone to pick with Loomer. He beat me in our fantasy football championship. You remember that? Because
I do.
Yeah, Loomer beat me in the championship game. Anyway, no, you're right. Everybody has a different voice, and if you're just trying, and this is what I did. I was trying to tweet and say things that everybody else was saying, and trying to kind of fit in with, I'm going to follow. But there's times where I disagree with certain people, and I disagreed with thought leaders and power users. And you know what? I've gotten more respect from them in the long run now after I changed my mindset. It's like, wait a minute, I don't agree with you, but I'm not one of those people that's going to disagree for the sake of a disagreement. I'm going to disagree, but back up my points. I'm going to say, well, this is why I feel that it's not that way. And I've gotten so much more respect from people rather than just blowing smoke up their asses constantly, because it just shows that I have my own leg to stand on. I'm my own individual. And that's, that anyone that's using social media, that's using whatever form of media, or just walking around in public, I would highly recommend you have your own voice. So like if social is not working for you, there's a reason, and it's probably the fact that you're not being yourself. Just go out there, do what you need to do, have your opinion. Don't be afraid of what other people are going to say about it. That's one of the worst things. You kill your own self. You kill your own confidence that way. You kind of stymie yourself before you even get started if you start worrying about what other people are thinking. And fortunately for me, like Brian, you and I have a lot of the same viewpoints, but there's certain things that you've said that I'm not like totally sold on. Doesn't mean that I hate you as a person, or that's it, I'm going to unfollow Brian because he disagrees with my viewpoint. No, and you know what? Most of the times those disagreements open up more conversation, and they accelerate learning, which I love.
Well, trust me. I mean, I don't believe I know everything, and not only that, but how do I know the way I'm doing it is right unless I understand and listen to how other people are using it? And you made the comment that you don't follow everybody back, and I think that's an interesting stance, because for me, if you have a profile filled out, you have a picture, and your profile describes something that I'm interested in. So if it says marketing, digital, technology, I follow you, because for me, I kind of take the approach that I don't know if they're going to have value for me until I follow them. But I also like your approach on that. You're gonna seek out followers, but you're not on following back every single person. And because we disagree on that, it's just a different philosophy on not only how we're building our followers, but I mean, get this. This is an interesting one that I will share, just because I'm kind of exposing the truth here. Is that I actually had somebody tell me yesterday I was signing a deal to be a keynote speaker, and they told me they would actually be paying me 4 times more if I had 100,000 followers on Twitter instead of my 30,000. And I told them the simple fact that they told me that makes me realize they don't get it.
Right.
And they were like frozen. And I was like, you realize if that was what I felt valuable, I could buy followers, I could set up a widget to actually freaking make that happen. But that provides no value for them and no value for me. And I mean, I wish I was in the state of my life where I could turn down the entire opportunity because money didn't matter, but that's not the case. And I'm gonna, I'm also gonna use it as a teaching moment. You know what? I'm gonna put them on blast when I'm on stage and be like, hey, you know what? I don't have 100,000 followers, but I bet you, if the people that are gonna tweet out about my presentation, the engagement on them will beat everybody else that has 100,000 followers. And that's the whole thing about the clout score. I have an 82 clout score. How many people would have an 82 clout score without 100,000 followers? And I'm not saying clout is what we put the baseline on, but my followers are badass. Everybody that follows me is awesome. And it sounds like very, very, very self-serving, but I have a community that shares the crap out of my content. And I don't think that's the case with everybody else.
You're right. And, I rock my 79 clout score, whatever the hell that means, with, 3,100 followers. So, like, I know I'm completely agree with what you just said, because it's not about that number. Here's the thing, this is something my father used to say to me all the time. 100% of nothing is nothing, but 50% of a dollar is more than 100% of nothing. And I never understood the reasoning behind it. I got it, technically what it meant, but here it is. If I had 100,000 followers and I only engaged with 1,000 of them, which is very difficult to do. Okay, that's great. So that's what, 1%. For me personally, out of my 3,100 followers, I'm not saying I talk to them all every day, but I'm engaging with way more than half of those followers at some point during the week, and that's 1,500. So there you go. 50% of my 3,000 is better than 1% of 100,000. Like you just said. And I know I'm saying the same thing you did, but it was something that I wanted to say earlier, and I think I love
it. It's true. Apparently, Meerkat crapped out on me twice now, and my feed crashed. But thankfully, the new widget where it crashed out, but when I opened the app back up, it actually said stream now, so my stream is coming back online now. But no, and actually, some of the people were actually talking about it on here. We're just kind of talking about this standpoint of not only what a power user is, but really how people are leveraging things like Meerkat. I mean, I talked about building a Twitter list and building engagement, but also like I love that people are talking about people they enjoy following or other people that are great on Meerkat, because I mean, part of this is how do we connect people with other people that are doing good stuff. And I think that's kind of an what people underestimate when it comes to really the truth here. And I'll give a shout out to Jeff Goldberg. He kind of sent me a tweet via DM of him calling out this guy, this one guy about his when Meerkat meets Periscope video. Your YouTube video now set to private. Good thing I Periscoped it and saved it. So some guy did a video that was complete crap, and he saved it. So I thought it was pretty awesome. And of course, we got the question again in the Twitter feed on the Meerkat versus Periscope, and it's too early to tell is my answer. Hey, what's up, Caitlin? Sorry, go ahead, Vin.
No, I was just, again, it's just, I think that whole conversation, Meerkat, Periscope, and you've heard me say so many times, you've heard me say this probably a lot, especially in Twitter chats, but I've said that, Google was the 21st kind of company that entered the whole search engine wars. I think Vala actually said that. He may have said it. I don't remember. I know that I've kind of made it my thing when talking about this conversation is kind of my drop the mic point. Google was the 21st company to come around when search engines were all popping up in the late 90s. And so if anybody thinks that we're at the end of the line with Meerkat and Periscope, like, you're kidding yourself, because we don't know who's working on an app right now. I mean, most people didn't even know Periscope was in the works. Meerkat came about and they thought it was the only thing. It was the only thing out there. Most people didn't even realize that Periscope was around. Some of us kind of, I want to say in the know, or at least kind of paid attention, knew about it. But the majority of people, you talk about Periscope, they're like, what's that? And now, Periscope, there's, like Dave Armano and I have had this discussion numerous times. He is all on Periscope. He's totally off the Meerkat bandwagon, and I've had so many disagreements with him about it. And obviously they're all backed by facts and whatnot. I don't just disagree to disagree, but so there's people out there that are going to say, you have your preference. It's whatever fits. Now, if you watch Dave's streams, Armano's streams, a lot of them are just like he goes riding on his Harley or he does something for like 5 or 10 minutes. It's not like Brian and I couldn't have this conversation that we've had for 2 hours on Periscope and have expected half the engagement that we've gotten on Meerkat. I'd actually love to see the numbers. I wish there was somehow we could run numbers on the Periscope side, but I know that I can check out what happened on Meerkat later on by checking the tweet and seeing how many people saw it. But that conversation, it's just such a dumb conversation to have. I think it just shows ignorance, and it's not really, there's not much intelligence behind it. And for those that are kind of writing, I think even Gary Vaynerchuk made the point, like, it's way too early to tell. You have no idea where this is going. Meerkat just got what, $14, $19 million in funding. For anybody to laugh at that or to balk at the fact that they just got a lot of, that much money in funding, you'd be foolish. Now, yeah, granted, Periscope is backed by Twitter and whatnot, but personally, from what I've seen so far out of Periscope, I'm not impressed by their.
Look at this. Can you see this? SportsCenter just posted that they were going to be on Periscope and for you to get on. And what happens when I click the link? Sorry, the broadcast is too full. That's talking about a burn. But you know what? The other thing about it is, and this is something that I kind of argue a lot with, like the whole Periscope Meerkat conversation, is competition breeds faster innovation, which the only winners are us, the users. So you know what? Thank goodness Meerkat or Periscope came out early, because it forced Meerkat to probably drop some more features, maybe even add some more ammo to their servers so their streams picked up. And you know what? When Meerkat did that, I bet you Periscope adapted as well. That's why, as an Apple fanboy, I'm thankful for Android, because if it was only Windows and BlackBerry, we'd probably still have the iPhone 4S, because Apple would have had no reason to innovate and give us more features and be, kind of ramp up the R&D. So for anyone that doesn't understand that aspect of it, I think is definitely interesting. I do like Periscope's UI better, and Kathy Gifford or Garfield actually said that as well. Like, I like the UI. I like the double tap the camera back and forth. But when I had to prioritize the features that I liked most about these apps, it was the engagement and conversation, and it's the ability to build relationships via Twitter. And Meerkat has both of those, and Periscope has neither. So for me, and you said it too, someone riding on a Harley. The times I was streaming just someone presenting on stage and I couldn't have dialogue, I've done that on Periscope a couple times, because it doesn't matter if I can't read the comments because they disappear too fast, because I wouldn't be able to read them anyhow. But what's the true advantage of that? If my community is on one more so than the other, then that's kind of how I look at it. But I hope that I would love to see a third app come in there and link into Google Hangouts and challenge all both of these apps to adapt to more social networks than just Twitter. I mean, I'm all about competition. I think the first one to get Android will be a game changer. I think Vinny, you and I will be on here in a couple of days, and I bet you we'll be talking about one of these apps having an Android version of this, and that's huge. You're missing a giant part of my community. Probably 49-50% of my community, because there isn't an Android app. And now, granted, there's you can watch on the browser, but the genius of these tools is the mobile to mobile, and the fact there's no Android is just still kind of unsettling. Yeah,
and you know what? The whole Android, I think the fact that it's not on Android yet, it's building anticipation, and for Meerkat at least. I hope Meerkat gets it first. I hope they kind of land. I know they have the View only app on Android, right? They're still running with that, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, there's something there. Whatever their reasoning is for not having it on Android is beyond me. But I think that once it does hit, it's going to be a game changer. Like you said, it's absolutely going to be a game changer because what Brian is describing with Google Hangouts is very likely already in the works. Jeff just said that.
Awesome. I would love to see. Hangouts on air, I absolutely love. I'm on like 5 or 6 a week easy.
Yep.
I love them, but the fact that Google hasn't invested shit in it in such a long time is slightly annoying. So it'd be nice to see if they could change up their game a little bit in that area. But no, yeah, I'm a big fan of Hangouts. I would love to see any of these. Imagine if Meerkat tapped in the Facebook social graph.
Wow.
And everybody who was your Facebook follower also, because the max, you can have 5,000 Facebook friends, right? I think that's the limit. So everybody could tap into those 5,000 people, and they would get a notification of every time they're on Meerkat. I think that is awesome.
Yeah. Alicia just said that she would like to see the ability to continue streaming when you leave the app. And so, Alicia, you must have joined us late. We talked about that a little earlier, but I actually did have a conversation with one of the founders or at Meerkat, and that was a specific question I had for them, and they have no plans on allowing that to happen because it would ruin the user experience, which the user experience of Meerkat is built on interaction, conversation, engagement. So if you were to leave the app and listen to it as if it was the radio, now it turns into media. Now it's no longer social media. It's like going in your car, turning on the radio, and driving down the road. You can't talk to the radio. You can't interact with the radio. So as far as I know, my understanding is that they don't have plans to do that. They don't want to do that. It would ruin the core of what they've built with Meerkat. But that is a good question, though, and that's great. There's other people that have asked me the same question, and they've wanted the same functionality. Meerkat Android takes a while with all the several different builds per carrier. So Lee just made that comment, and that's true. I think that's probably one of the barriers to entry of Android is the fact that it's so variable. With
everybody hates Apple because Apple controls the hardware that runs its software. The reason Apple is great is because it controls the hardware that runs its software. It's the good and bad. If I have to, and I'm an app geek, so if I have to develop on Android, how many versions of KitKat out there? How many versions of Nokia, Samsung, all these devices that I have to build the variables around when I'm building that app? Apple, what hardware is running that software, which is definitely huge when it comes to that side of it. Also, when you think of it this way, you play towards your bigger audience. You also play towards what I believe is the biggest game changer is the iTunes Store, the App Store. The App Store in Google is still lacking, and because of that, you're gonna lean towards an iOS device, much more so than other ones.
Yeah. Steven says that I can interact fully on Meerkat via Droid. I just can't broadcast. So. Again, for those, for people on Android, you're still tapping into a few of those, but I would say that if there isn't a full Android app, not everybody's going to be on it. Steven might be one of few that says, well, I still want to use the app anyway. Thank you, Google Chrome plugin. So people are loving the Google Chrome plugin. So yeah, these are all such great valid points. I'd love to take more questions from the crowd. Are you getting questions over there, Brian?
My feed dropped, so it came back. I got 4 people watching right now. So right now, someone just posted about the Facebook working on VR, and yes, they are working on VR, which will be virtual reality aspect. I would love for them to be able to see if you could embed the stream feed into your Facebook page, or embed some kind of live video stream. I would probably tinker with that. I think there's a play in there from the business side as well. But that's a good point too. Someone E.G. Mathers said, look how many people that are PC users that have fully embraced the iPhone. And we talked about learning curve for Twitter. That's the thing about iPhone is it freaking works. It's an easy UI. The reason I put my entire family on there is I was tired of doing customer support. on all their devices and all their Blackberries and all their phones. We switched the entire family over to iPhones and Apple products, and now I don't have to do customer support. It actually just freaking works.
Right. Do you believe Snapchat is a contender or a wild card? I don't think Snapchat is a contender in live stream. I think they've hit a niche, however you want to say that word. I think, the stories and whatnot, it's different. I personally, Brian, I don't know what your thoughts are on Snapchat in terms of competing in the live.
Completely different audience, completely different experience. I don't think the two are competitors at all. I think what Snapchat is attracted to is there's an element there, and I don't even think Snapchat and Cyberdust are competitors either. No. we have to stop trying to think that Google Plus needs to replace Facebook or like Periscope, Meerkat. Yes, competitors, but that's like saying Twitter is competing with Tumblr. Not only is it a different audience, but it's a different user experience or different content creation. I don't know how many people are hockey fans, but I was watching the Frozen 4, and Snapchat had Frozen 4 content on Snapchat. It was one of my favorite, probably my favorite Snapchat element since the World Cup, was watching all the fans, watching the people in the locker room doing Snapchats of the Frozen 4, the college hockey playoffs. How cool was that I got insights that I would have never seen that on Twitter. I would have never seen that on Meerkat. Because I got 300 different fans' view of that event, and that's what Snapchat brought to me. So I don't think of the two as competitors. I just think you have to look at each one, and that's the hard part as a marketer today in these brands, is you can't have a social strategy. You have to have an individual strategy for each platform, for each piece of content, and link that towards your business goals. And it's freaking not easy. And I guess thankfully it's not easy, because that's why they hire people like you and I, right, Ben?
Thankfully, man. If everyone could do it, we would we'd be on the street begging for money. Well, maybe not, but you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We have other skills, but we'd have to go searching for a job like everyone else. Haley asked, she said it's not Meerkat related, but she wants to know what our thoughts are on Gary Vee posting his video just in Facebook.
So, I guess the comments like, YouTube, right? Facebook engagement and views on videos is amazing. The HD version of the video that sits on Facebook is pretty awesome. And because Gary posted it on his page, he could actually share that link on Twitter. So yes, he doesn't get the embed on Twitter, but how many people aren't, I think Gary, let's put this in perspective. You can't compare Gary and Guy Kawasaki's strategy or even Robert Scoble with everybody, because you know what? If Gary posts a link, everybody's clicking on it. It doesn't matter where it's going. And that's just a different approach. It's like Tim Cook. Like someone was joking the other day about influencers. Tim Cook tweets. He only tweets once a month, once every quarter. When he tweets, everybody listens. When I tweet, people only hear, 100 people hear my tweet. So I don't think you can compare the two. But I think Facebook is a reasonable competitor for YouTube, because YouTube's problem is because it's really always been the only answer, but it's also kind of always lived out on its own. Like you went to YouTube to watch videos, but YouTube doesn't play well inside of Facebook. So, and that's Facebook's, game. I couldn't stand when Facebook bought Instagram, because then Instagram wasn't pushing to Twitter with the embedded pictures. Well, then we got around that with if this and that. But I think it's very much like Facebook video. I think Facebook video, when you do post them to a page, the amount of engagement you get out of them and value is freaking awesome. And, kudos to Gary for pushing the limit. What I like to do is listen to why Gary's doing it, study it, and see if I can emulate it. But you can't always compare that. If it works for Gary, it'll work for everybody else, because we all don't have that luxury.
No, not at all. And you brought up a good point about the engagement that Facebook video brings. There's so many people that complain about, and I've had clients, well, Facebook, I'm not getting the views, I'm not getting the engagement anymore, the percentages are going down, less than 1%, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, step up your game. You don't have to, I personally, and I recommend to clients, I still recommend boosting posts and using Facebook and paying to play. Maybe not paying a lot. You'd be shocked at what $5 a week does on specific posts. Again, you can't boost any old post, but if you boost the right content and spend very little money, spending $20, $25 a week for a small business, can go a long way. But if you get around it, which I think you can with video, you're adapting. You need to adapt. You said, you know, you do something.
Free is in. I mean, it's always funny. The biggest budgets in every company is freaking marketing. Marketing spends how much money on Google Ads or Google AdWords or freaking sponsoring a golf tournament. The fact that you're going to complain about $5, $10, $15 to pay to play, like, to me, is wrong. But like, you had also had a good point. You know what? If you create really great content, people are going to find it. And if you do create great content and people don't find it, I use that term upcycle. Upcycle your great content. Turn it into new. So if you have a great blog post, why not create it into a video and then post a video on Facebook? And then if the video does really well, turn it into a slide share. And then you have a great slide share, turn that into something. And I think when you upcycle stop worrying about create a ton of content or content for content's sake. Create great content, test it out, and then turn it into other pieces of content. That's when it changes the game. And I think that's when the people stop complaining about, oh, you know, I have to pay to play. And then it goes, how can I get my great content in front of more audience, in front of more people? I mean, shoot, if it ends up being a great video, why not put the producer of the video on Meerkat and live stream the Meerkat of you interviewing the guy who did the video on why he created it, how he created it. Think like a fan when it comes to that. I mean, there's so many different ways you can upcycle great content today. The problem is not enough people create or present great content.
Well, it's funny, you know, somebody that I met on Meerkat started coming to me as a, you know, an influencer, a video influencer. And I was like, I'm not a video influencer. I'm just a guy who is good in front of people. And I love live, you know, because I love the raw, you know, how raw it is. But the question I got was, you know, can you help me with my social strategy? And I said, absolutely. You know, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I write blog posts once a week. And I said, well, damn, I'm like, that's great. That's more than most people do ever. And I'm like, how consistent are you? She's like, well, I do it every week. And I said, okay, well, you know, what's your sharing strategy? She's like, what do you mean? I said, well, do you share it? Or, you know, how do you share it? Well, I post it on my blog and that's it. And I said, are you sharing it to Twitter? Are you sharing it to Facebook? Are you posting it on multiple platforms, LinkedIn, Medium, as well as your own blog? And oh no, I never thought of that. And it's funny because, so then we got deeper into the conversation and she never even thought to promote a post beyond that day that she posted it. So wow. Yeah, like, you know, you talk about upcycling, but how about even just reposting the content over the, you know, multiple times over the course of a month or over the year? I mean, we talk about creating evergreen content and whatnot, but are we actually treating it like evergreen content? You know, there's so many blog posts, you know, you post, Brian, that they're relevant now and they're going to be relevant in a year or two. They're not going to die. They're not going to just drop off. Valuable content. Are you going to stop promoting it just because, okay, well, I wrote it a month ago? No.
Look at this. I mean, it's a great example. While you're talking up there, my blog post that I wrote, will the real social media leaders please stand up, right? So that was, I think that was January. Yeah, that was January or February, my rant. Somebody just retweeted that, you know, and actually a shout out to Vincent Orlek, because it's one of his Plexus advocates, but she just retweeted that post now. You know, and I think, you know, one of the things that people don't use very often is the Twitter analytics, because if you look to see how many people actually saw your tweet, that's the reason I tweet the same content more than once, is because you'll be amazed how many people don't see your tweets whenever you actually.
I was gonna say that. It's the numbers are stacked. What a lot of people don't see or understand about Twitter is that, like, your stream goes so fast, your timeline goes so quickly that, and this is why I always recommend to clients and even in my own social media, you share the exact same piece of content with maybe a different headline or a different piece of copy, or, you know, however it might work, but the exact same link, but you have to share it on different days, different times of the day. You know, try the weekends, try Monday mornings at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning when people are on their way to work, you know, or taking the train, whatever it might be, mass transit. Post it on a Friday afternoon. And they're like, wow, I never thought about that. So it's crazy how sometimes we forget common sense with social media, because, you know, as Lee made a comment here, he said for social media, you have to work it. A lot of people think it sells itself, and and I know Brian, I know you run into it with clients, and I know I've run into it with clients. They think a single tweet, they're going to go viral. You know, what's the goal? You saw my tweet yesterday. How many likes did you get today? And you know, that was a serious question that somebody asked me yesterday. How many likes did you get today? Or did you get a lot of likes today? So clearly that person does not understand social at all, how it works. But,
well, yeah, and there's something to be said too. And I know Eddie posted on mine, said great posts need an echo, and he loves the Twitter analytics. But yeah. I mean, here's the thing: if it's great content and it shows up in my feed multiple times over a week, nobody complains. The problem is when you spew salesy, crappy content trying to get me to download your PDF or to get 100,000 new followers. Yes, you share that more than once, you're gonna get unfollowed. But I think I think too many people worry about, you know, because I mean, even if I see the same post multiple times, that never bothers me, and I don't think it'll even bother a new user. Now, granted, I do hate when someone posts like the same thing 5 times in an hour. Like that's different. We're both representing Buffer shirts. Buffer makes that to where you should never even have to do that. But yeah, and Steven just said that too. You know, live and die by Twitter analytics. Twitter is the greatest A/B testing ground that exists, but it takes effort. There is no easy button. You can't just even one tweet and forget it. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the people that are over tagging people, and Vincent knows that, or Vincenzo knows that, because I've been on a slight rant about overly being, and it happens to be because I woke up one morning and I had 87 notifications on Facebook for when I went to bed at 2 in the morning and woke up at 8 o'clock. And I had 87 notifications. I ain't that popular, I ain't that cool that I had 87. And it's because I got tagged in way too much crap. And I was like, man, they were tagging me on stuff that events I wasn't at and said, we missed you. And I'm like, oh my God, like you are completely ruining this entire experience for me. So I think that's part of the conversation as well, is you know, people that really understand the value of sharing great content. But you know, in that mode, I say I got a couple more minutes left in me because I do have to be up and be on stage in the AM. So do we have any other questions coming out of here? We'll get out of here before midnight my time. I know it's what, 1 a.m. your time? Almost 1 a.m.?
It is. So 7 minutes tops for me. I probably should I still have to take a dog out to the bathroom.
Yeah. So so you have any other questions coming on your side?
Let's check. The stream is going pretty quickly. Some people said they've been really into analytics lately, checking it daily now, so that's good. No, we've answered almost everything. I think we've done a pretty decent job, Bri.
No, I do too. I think this was fun. I think we're gonna put out some more content like this. You and I kind of teaming up, sharing our experiences on Meerkat. I think we both have a different approach, a different audience, but we also both believe in helping each other. I know our buddy over at Frank's Pizza House is in mine right now, and I love that he puts the live stream on the pizza and watching it made. The people over at in UK, I think it's called Funky Fairy, they do embroidery and design, and they had the live stream on their embroidery design company and watching the customers come in and ask for different things. And I think there's people that everybody's kind of using it a different way. So I know you and I have been talking to the Meerkat team about creating some additional content for them. So I think this was a good fun session to kind of share our insights and then see what we can turn all this fun into down the road.
Absolutely, I'm right there with you, man. And if you guys want to see this kind of content more often, and if you're into it, and if there's anything that you guys want to see on these streams, Brian and I will be doing more of it. It's just a matter of giving you guys what you want, giving you the content that you need. If you need something and you feel like you want us to answer questions, this kind of conversation, it started with Meerkat and it turned into a little bit of social media talk. Whatever it is, we're definitely here for it. So I know Brian has said it, and I'm going to echo that, but I'm not above anybody. I don't think I'm better than anybody on Twitter, on Facebook, in real life, on Meerkat. So please feel free. If I didn't engage you personally in this particular Meerkat session, pardon that, because we were trying to have a conversation here on Google Hangout. But if I didn't engage you, I will go back later and then try to personally engage you through Twitter. thank you for joining us. I don't know, Brian, do you have anything else you want to add before we kind of?
No, that's awesome. We have an awesome community, and this was fun. And we'll definitely do it again, and we'll bring some more content. And tonight's Tuesday, so tomorrow night you get to see Vinny on action on MCEO Talk. So check out the Twitter chat that Vinny does as the host. Every Wednesday, always great content. So excited to see what you bring on Wednesday night, and I will be meerkatting my session that I'll be presenting tomorrow. So check that out. 10 a.m. Austin time, so it's 11 a.m. Eastern. I'll have that meerkat stream going on. So no, this was fun, man. Good stuff, and thanks to everybody who jumped in and shared. Steven, and I mean pretty much the meerkat community sharing our meerkat love. I think it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been real. It's been fun. I enjoy it. I hope that we can keep doing this because it brings value. You know what? I have to say, as much as you guys are saying you learn from us, I'm equally learning from you guys as well. And that's kind of how the community works. We all learn from each other, and that's how we keep it going around. But Brian, I definitely appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know you're exhausted and you need to go and get some sleep so that you can give a functional presentation tomorrow. All right, bud.
All right, man.
I'm going to end my stream first, and then I don't know if you want to end the hangout, and then I'll just say later to you after. But
yeah, I'll